Now calling to order the April 10th, 2024 meeting of the Santa Rosa City Schools Board. We'll start off by taking public comment on closed session agenda items. Those items are item B1, public employee performance evaluation, B2, conference with labor negotiator, B3, conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, and B4, student expulsions. Are there any blue cards for comment?
President Medina, there are no blue cards.
Seeing no blue cards, we will now recess into closed session. We good? Right, we are now reconvening the April 10th, 2024 meeting of the Santa Rosa City Schools Board. If you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for our territorial land acknowledgement. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Now please remain standing for our territorial land acknowledgement by Dr. Patricia Law.
Thank you. I acknowledge that Santa Rosa City Schools is on the traditional territory and homelands of the Pomo people, traditional territory and homelands of the Coast Miwok people, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. This land acknowledgement calls us to commit to continuing to learn how to be better stewards of the land we inhabit. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold Santa Rosa City Schools more accountable to the needs of American Indian and Indigenous peoples.
Thank you. You may all please be seated. So we will now move on to reports of actions taken in closed session. There are none. Item C1, items considered in closed session for action in open session. We do have item B4, under student expulsions, case number 2023/24-17. Board, do we have a motion?
I move to approve case number 202324-17.
Second.
Moved by trustee Flores, seconded by trustee De La Torre. Let's go to the vote.
Trustee Flores.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri. Aye. President Medina.
Aye. We will now move on to statements of abstention. Board, are there any statements of abstention? Seeing none, we'll move on to adjustments to the agenda. Any adjustments to the agenda, Board? Superintendent Turnell, none? Go ahead, trustee.
I'd like to pull consent item 3. It's the approval of the vendor warrants.
Okay.
Thank you.
Consent 3 pulled. Anything else? If anybody in the public has any public comment on any of the consent items, please let us know. Okay, see none. All right. We'll move on with the agenda as amended. Now let's see. All right, so we will now move on to special presentations. Let us start with Luther Burbank Elementary School.
No,
The mic is not on.
it's on. That's better. Now it's closer.
All right. Good evening, President Medina, board members, and Superintendent Trunell. My name is Mitch Tucker, proud principal of Luther Burbank Elementary, and I'm very excited to be here tonight to recognize three amazing Burbank Bengals tonight. We're going to start with our Student of the Month, Miss Sophia Orellana. It is with great pleasure to announce that Sophia has been selected by her teachers and staff members to represent Luther Burbank Elementary School as our Santa Rosa City Schools Student of the Month. Principal Tucker can always count on Sophia to set a great example for her peers at Burbank, and she exemplifies what it means to be respectful, responsible, safe, and especially a kind Bengal. Here are some comments from her teachers and other Burbank staff members. Sophia thinks deeply about reading and all her learning. She has great insights and a remarkable brain. It was a great pleasure to help her get reclassified as a proficient English student this year. She is such an excellent choice for Burbank Student of the Year. Bravo, Sophia, and that's from Miss Maloney, Artosa. Miss Morgan, our reading specialist, says, Sophia is a lovely young lady who has always strived to do her very best in every way. She is a student who tries very hard to do well academically and shares her kindness with all. Sophia is respectful and responsible and the first to offer to assist those in need. I feel fortunate to have had Sophia as a student. She was such a wonderful addition to the class. I wish to congratulate Sophia. She is most deserving of this honor and continues to serve as a role model for all. Our head custodian, Bob Vaughn, says that she is nothing but respectful to her peers. She's always there to help when needed. I see her having conversations with friends, and you can tell that she is only focused on the person who is talking to her. Ms. Spigarelli would like to share that Sophia is a hard worker and a kind friend. She has grown in her abilities as she has progressed through the grades in our school. Sophia has strong critical thinking and math skills and is also a leader in her group when the math or maker projects are challenging. As a second language learner with a visual disability, she previously struggled to reach grade level in reading and language arts. But this year, she has improved her reading and writing skills immensely, and she was reclassified as fully English proficient. Congratulations from Ms. Spigarelli. And then finally, I would just like to say that I'm grateful to have students like Sophia. I thank you for being such a wonderful role model as a member of our Burbank Bengal student body, and we wish you the very best in middle school and beyond. We know you will be quite successful. Sophia, I'm going to give you this too, okay? You get more flowers. Cool. All right, Yudi, you nervous?
Yes, all the time.
That's good. Yudi Correa. Luther Burbank Elementary School is proud to announce that Yudi has been chosen by her peers to represent Luther Burbank as our Santa Rosa City Schools Classified Employee of the Month /year. Yudi is an amazing team member here at Burbank. She is our lead yard duty and kinder care supervisor. Principal Tucker can always count on Yudi to help me in any situation, and she is amazing with our students and families. She is a natural leader, and she leads with grace and professionalism. She knows exactly when to be firm and when to be fair with the students. But she also knows how to be kind and loving. When the situation calls for some tenderness, basically, she is Burbank's very own Wonder Woman. Here are some comments from her peers. Oh my goodness, what an asset for Luther Burbank Yuri is to our school. In addition to her regular duties, she has created games to make our cafeteria time work better. In addition to her own marathon efforts, Yuri plays soccer with our students at lunch. What an amazing woman. We are so lucky to have her helping all of our students, from Miss Maloney. Miss Moreno says, her sunny and positive disposition radiates on campus. Mr. Vaughn, our lead custodian, says, Yuri, also known as the child whisperer, she is so good with the kids. She comes up with all sorts of interesting things to do with the kids. And I'm pretty sure she spends some of her own money to get special things for our students. Yes, she does. Yuri always has a smile and treats all the students of our school as if they were her own. Using positive reinforcement, points, and pizza, she encourages our students to behave in the cafeteria. When behavior is not up to her standards, she speaks to the teacher of the class involved about responsibility and respect. That's from Ms. Spigarelli. I am so grateful to have Yuri here at Burbank. This is from me. She is loving and caring to our students, and she works her tail off to keep kids motivated to do their best every day. Oh, sorry, that's from Dawn Kopshever. Sorry. Okay, this is me right here, last sentence. Once again, congratulations, Judy, on a well-deserved recognition. So here, take those, and you get my flowers too. You get my flowers. Me too. All right, man the myth. All right, this is Mr. Guy Cottle. I'll just start by saying congrats on an amazing career, because gonna tear up. This guy's gonna retire, so. All right, Luther Burbank Elementary School is proud to announce that Guy Cottle has been chosen by his peers to represent Burbank as our Teacher of the Month/year. I can always count on Guy to be available and willing to help in any situation. Guy is a consummate professional and a great advocate for our students and our staff here at Burbank. It has been wonderful to get to know him and observe the magic in his community-based classroom. Here are some comments from his peers. This is from Ms. Maloney. Guy has been a wonderful collaborator for many, many years. He is always open to new ideas and new strategies. A completely dedicated and focused teacher. Guy is all in when it comes to helping his students succeed, whatever it takes. Students leave his room loving reading and knowing math. Hats off to a consummate teacher, Mrs. Maloney. Guy is persistent and determined when it comes to his students' learning. He has a deep love of reading that he shares with his students here at Burbank while running our accelerated reader program. That's from Ms. Moreno. While taking a 3-4 combo last year, I had an incredible kid who was a conflict manager, but he wasn't always able to make good choices. The kind but firm approach that Guy used enabled this child to understand himself better so he could do better. And in our last class circle, this student thanked me, the principal, and Mr. Cottle for helping me become a better me. Thank you, Mr. Cottle. That's from Ms. Rummel. Mr. Cottle is an educator who shines his own light. His ability to promote conflict managers is known throughout the school. The students develop strong leadership roles and bear the responsibility of becoming the peacemakers. Congratulations, Mr. Cottle. Luther Burbank has been served well by you, and though you will be missed, all are wishing you the very best. That's from Ms. Morgan, our reading specialist. He hasn't heard any of this yet, so this is cool. Mr. Cottle thinks outside the box, and he's always engaged with the students. He is at school almost every day at 6:30 a.m., and he comes in on the weekends. Now that is commitment. That's from Mr. Vaughn, our head custodian. Guy has always been a great teammate. I have wonderful memories of partnering with him for reading buddies, taking field trips to the Jelly Belly factory. He has always stressed building the relationships with students before trying to tackle content. It is evident that this strategy works as his students adore him. Year after year, they come back to Burbank just to visit him. That's from Ms. Kopshever. Mr. Cottle is very welcoming to staff and students alike. He spends extra time understanding his students' needs and focuses on the ones that require the most help. Additionally, he goes above and beyond to make learning fun with field trips and extra outdoor time. That's from our school nurse, Elizabeth Munns. And then finally, Mr. Haas says, Guy is known for his passion, unique spirit, love of reading, and his commitment to help his students transcend to that higher plane of learning and curiosity. I've worked with him for the last 25 plus years at Luther Burbank and have been inspired by how he pours himself into his lessons and uplifts the growing minds in front of him. From Mr. Haas. Once again, congrats, Mr. Cottle. We wish you a glorious and well-deserved retirement. You don't get flowers. You just have nuts. All right. No flowers for you. Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
And now we'll move on to Santa Rosa High School.
Good evening, Board. My name is Mark Ryan, and I am the very proud Panther principal. And we're going to begin this evening with recognizing Rodrigo Licea Casares. Please come on down, Rodrigo. Rodrigo was selected because of his grit and resilience. Despite many life challenges, Rodrigo never gives up and always has a smile and a kind thing to say to everyone. When he was in danger of not passing his math fall semester final exam, he came in multiple early mornings to get extra help so he could guarantee that he would graduate on time. One of his teachers commented that Rodrigo is so personable and humble. He smiles constantly, and he brings a joy to the classroom. He's just one of the nicest young people around. I noted that from the first day I arrived at Santa Rosa High School, Rodrigo has been welcoming and kind. He always asks how I'm doing, and he takes a genuine interest in the answer. When he needs help, he asks for it, and when he faces obstacles, he overcomes them through perseverance and grit and resilience. Rodrigo is very deserving of this recognition because he embodies a spirit of kindness, treating others the way he wants to be treated, and always trying to do the right thing. Congratulations, Rodrigo. Dallas Johnson is our Santa Rosa High School Classified Employee of the Year/month because she is the epitome of customer service. She has an exceptionally kind heart, a spirit of compassion toward every person with whom she interacts, and a gentle yet firm way with everyone she meets. One student commented that Dallas is just so incredibly kind. She's a great listener, and she's always willing to help if I need anything. One parent commented in Spanish that even though she is not bilingual, she uses a tone that is loving and kind and shows that she genuinely wants to help. She always gets me in touch with the right person who can help me. A teacher commented that Dallas is the perfect secretary. She has all the answers or knows where to find them. She always has a smile and a kind word. I noted that when faced with stressful situations or angry members of the public, Dallas is calm, cool, and collected. She can diffuse an angry person with her gentle tone and her compassionate ear. Dallas Johnson is truly remarkable and very deserving of this recognition. When I sent out the notice to ask students and staff and parents to nominate a student, a classified staff member, and a teacher, there was an online petition that got started that ended up with more than 400 student signatures. And the recipient of this year's Employee Teacher of the Year/month for Santa Rosa High School is Emma Zavala. She's a truly remarkable Spanish teacher. So many students nominated her, it was hard to choose just a few of their comments for this presentation. One said, quote, "She's like my mom at school. She kicks me in the butt when I need it, but she does it with love. I know she genuinely cares for me like I was her own son. You just don't find that in many teachers," end quote. One of her colleagues said, "Ms. Zavala is always willing to go the extra mile for her students. Her classroom is the hangout spot during break and lunch, and kids always know she will be there to support them." A parent on our ELAC commented in Spanish that Ms. Zavala is the perfect Spanish teacher. She teaches native speakers grammar and skills they don't necessarily have as native speakers. She's patient and kind, but has high expectations and is always willing to help anyone, student or parent, who needs it. Ms. Zavala is very deserving of this recognition as our Santa Rosa High School Teacher of the Year.
And now we're going to move on to our school site parent organization updates. We'll start with Luther Burbank Elementary. Let's begin with the ELAC report. Is Liliana Santiago here? Down here. It's fine. Thank you. Just make sure you turn on the little mic for the green light to come on and that is close to your mouth.
Lights on, so. Good evening, members, and it's my first time here, so I'm kind of nervous, sorry. And okay, my name is Liliana Santiago, and I'm the DLEC representative for Luther Burbank Elementary School. This is my first year as a DLEC representative, and I witnessed a lot. So let me share what I have learned this year. Luther Burbank is not just a school, it's a charming and a very hardworking community with a sense of urgency to give the best tools to our kids. With a little over 330 students, more than 57% of our kids are English learners. So we understand the importance of having systems in place to support them in any way we can possibly imagine. We are proud to share that we have a high rate of reclassification, and we need to honor those who make this possible. For example, Ms. Morgan and Ms. Maloney, our talented and skillful reading specialist team. They work not only hard, but with passion to make sure our kids thrive. Second, our dedicated teachers who are devoted to their calling to create a better future for our kids. It is important to mention that we are losing our tools specialists, so that will make an impact in the ability to support some of our kids next year. Another key factor is our family engagement facilitator, Ms. Viviana. And thanks to her big efforts, we are also fortunate to be one of the highest enrollment to the Migrate Education Program, which also brings resources to those families who qualify. Finally, what have amazed me the most is have been able to see the titanic labor from all staff, Mr. Tucker, our principal, Yuri, and all our yard duties, our office staff teachers, Mr. Bob, special aides, educational teachers, counselor, coaches, every one of them contributing and doing their best part to make Santa Rosa a better community. Thank you all for all what you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Next, we'll have the PTO rep. Do we have Griselda Gil?
Hi, good evening, Director and board members. My name is Griselda Gill. I am the president of Parent Club at Luther Burbank Elementary School. This year, we began with Mr. Tucker, our new principal. I hope he gets to stay with us for a long time. He really tries to learn about our students, teachers, parents, and community. Attends to all of our meetings, which have been really good. 12 parents attended last meeting, but during the events is where the magic starts. We truly come together as a community. Parents, teachers, and students, Mr. Tucker, help sell, donate, set up, and clean up. We also have a cup of coffee every Friday to interact with other parents and help teachers prep work. Mr. Tucker often stops by to say hello and make sure everything's going fine. We're hoping to have a beautification day before the end of the school year, and tomorrow we will have a science night. Thank you.
Thank you, Griselda. Now we're going to move on to Santa Rosa High School. Let's start with the ELAC report. We have Nayeli Zuniga and Mireya Rodriguez.
President Medina, the ELAC representative will join us online this evening. And if Principal Ryan is still here, he said that he would translate. If Principal, oh, okay.
Sounds good.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes a todos, ¿me escuchan?
Sí, sí, la escuchamos.
Ok. Mire, mi nombre es Naxeli Zúñiga Contreras. Yo soy una madre que asiste regularmente al comité de ILAC. Vengo acompañada con mi compañera, la señora Rocío. Voy a empezar con el reporte de ILAC hacia nuestra escuela. Nuestro comité asesor de estudiantes de inglés se ha reunido mensualmente tratando temas de interés de los padres como las recientes presentaciones de un grupo llamado 10,000 Degrees, siendo este un recurso de mucha utilidad para las metas universitarias y ayuda financiera de nuestros hijos. También hemos planeado 2 eventos familiares para reunir a nuestra comunidad de habla hispana, obteniendo como resultado una convivencia sana y promoviendo el compañerismo. La primera fue,
Nacheli, un momento, por favor.
sí,
Do we need her
perdón.
to pause for translation or do you guys have it? Bueno, nomás vamos a parar un poco a poquito para que le traduzcan lo que está diciendo. ¿Está bien?
Sí, muchas gracias.
Gracias.
I'm trying to remember what she just said. She said so much about, we're having 10,000 degrees, and this is an organization that we are focusing on and making sure that we are uniting and getting people involved, and therefore, this is a great opportunity for us to be able to bring this into our school. This is a summary of what she said.
Ok. También,
Si puede decirme un poquito más despacio para que así ya le podamos nosotros traducir, por favor.
muchas gracias, señora Zavala, muchas felicidades. También hemos planeado 2 eventos familiares para reunir a nuestra escuela como comunidad de habla hispana, obteniendo resultados, una convivencia sana y promoviendo el compañerismo.
We are also we're getting 2 events. That way we can get the community involved and bring this a positivity event happening in our school.
Ok, la primera fue el pasado otoño, la posada del otoño pasado, y nuestra segunda será un baile latino que se llevará a cabo la próxima semana en este mes de abril, que es el baile latino.
The first event was a winter event of a posada that was very well attended. And then next week, there is a Latin dance for all the families of the school.
También se tuvieron 2 cursos para padres, el primero sobre las pandillas y el segundo de las drogas ofreciendo información muy valiosa de prevención.
We have also led a workshop on gangs, and tonight actually is a workshop on drugs for parent education.
Ofrecemos clases de inglés gratuitas a las familias todos los martes por las noches.
We offer also ESL classes on Tuesday nights for our community, our parents, or anyone welcome to come.
Y nos estamos enfocando en cómo involucrar a más familias de estudiantes aprendices de inglés en la comunidad escolar para aumentar el éxito de todos nuestros estudiantes y asimismo de sus familias.
Go ahead.
We also get together and we meet to come up with ways to unify our EL students so that they can come together as a community and create more events together.
Y por último, la adición de un involucrador familiar. Ahora tenemos 2 presentes en la escuela.
Lastly, we would like to create more positions for family engagement facilitators and to have them be able to facilitate with the community engagement with our Spanish-speaking families at our schools.
Voy a darle la palabra a mi compañera Rocío.
I'm going to
Gracias.
give the word to my colleague, Rosie.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Mireya Rodríguez, soy la vicepresidenta de DILAC de la Santa Rosa High School. Estos últimos meses que ha estado en las juntas, hemos mirado que han venido más padres a a nuestras juntas, aunque es un poco reducido, pero como antes era limitado, pues limitado porque nadie, nadie está ahí, pero ahorita estamos avanzando en que más padres se incorporen, porque queremos, como representantes representando a nuestros hijos en las escuelas, queremos, am, que más papás se involucren. No sabemos cómo ayudar para que ellos se acerquen, pero la escuela está poniendo toda la atención de su parte. Y también gracias al director que él es bilingüe, entonces muchos papás tienen más confianza al acercarse a él porque nos da la oportunidad de estar más al pendiente. Sabemos que él nos escucha y sabe bien lo que estamos pasando sin necesidad de que nos digan, oh, no nos van a entender o nos van a decir otras cosas. Entonces, estamos muy agradecidos con el nuevo director y también a todos los papás que han estado en las juntas de DILAC.
Good evening. My name is Mireya Rodriguez. I am the Vice President of the ELAC of Santa Rosa High School. Currently, we are working on getting more parents to start attending the meetings. While we have been increasing the amount of attendees to our ELAC meetings, we still are at quite a disadvantage of the amount of people that we do have going. I would like to say that, our principal, Mr. Ryan, has been very helpful with the ELAC and with our community. We are very grateful that he is a Spanish-speaking bilingual principal, and we can tell that he is really there and he cares for us. And we can also tell that parents are very comfortable speaking with him, so we are very thankful for that.
And we feel comfortable that we know that someone is supporting us, and therefore we're grateful that he's actually in our school and listening to what we need and making things happen.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias, Nayeli. Gracias, Mireya.
Disculpe, la señora Rocío dice que no pueden escucharla, pero ella necesita darla también una parte de lo que íbamos a hablar porque éramos 3 personas. Pero yo puedo leerlo si ella no puede ser escuchada.
I apologize, but Miss Rocio said that that we can't hear her, but she has some things to say. However, I can step in and say those things if that's okay.
Thank you. I am trying to promote Rocio to a panelist, and here she comes.
Ahorita la están dejando entrar, Rocío, para que pueda decir las cosas que tiene que decir.
Sí, ojalá que sí, si no yo las puedo leer.
We'll try one more time.
Están invitando para que entre. Ok, ya entró Rocío.
Yay, perfecto.
Rocio, if you could please unmute. There you go.
Señora Rocío, si puede prender su micrófono.
Sí, sí. Buenas tardes, ¿sí me escuchan?
Sí.
¿Sí? ¿Ya me escuchan?
Sí, la escuchamos.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Rocío, soy la representante y asisto a las juntas consecutivamente del grupo de ILAC. Yo tengo algunas peticiones que me gustaría que fueran escuchadas. Me
Good evening.
detengo.
Espérame tantito porque tenemos que traducirle, por favor. Good evening, my name is Rocio and I'm a representative of ELAG. I have a few petitions that I would like to present to you today. ¿Puede continuar?
Ok. Queremos que se continúe con el apoyo al programa Night School para el próximo año. Actualmente funciona para 200 estudiantes y ha obtenido resultados muy favorables.
We would like to ask for you to continue supporting the night school program for next school year. We have been able to support over 200 students and we have had very favorable results.
Debido a la amplitud de nuestro campus, tenemos una gran necesidad de que se contrate más personal para su supervisión.
Due to the vast size of our campus, we would like for there to be more campus supervision because we need more eyes on our campus.
Ok. Am, Necesitamos de manera urgente una escuela cerrada, con puertas y portones con límites para mejorar la seguridad de toda nuestra comunidad educativa.
We urgently need a school that is a closed campus so that our students can feel safe during school.
Ok. Requerimos capacitación docente que sirva para adquirir estrategias de apoyo para los estudiantes, aprendices de inglés, como también tutores de apoyo en las clases de mayor dificultad.
We also are requesting that we get tutoring for in-class. We have a vast majority of students that are lacking the resources, and therefore we would like to get an individual in the classroom so they're able to translate for those students.
Y por último, también se necesitan más consejeros académicos y personal clasificado bilingüe para que más papás se acerquen, porque esto es un obstáculo mayormente por el idioma, muchos papás no se acercan.
And lastly, we need more counselors that are bilingual and more classified staff that's bilingual, because this is one of the biggest obstacles that we as Spanish-speaking parents face today in our school communities.
Y eso sería todo. Gracias.
Gracias, Rocío.
Una última, también una sugerencia, si no hay personal que nos apoye, ¿por qué no nos arreglan o nos ponen más cámaras en la escuela?
One last suggestion, if there's no one that can support us, why is it that we can't get more cameras or security on our school campuses?
Gracias.
Thank you.
Felicidades, Miss Zavala.
Now we will move on to the parent organization rep, Jessica Jones.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Jessica Jones, and I'm the president of the STP at Santa Rosa High School. The Santa Rosa High School Student Teacher Parent Organization has been an active and dedicated group constantly striving to improve the school's experience for teachers, students, and parents alike. Over the past year, we have sponsored numerous events and initiatives, such as organizing a staff appreciation breakfast each quarter to show gratitude for the hardworking teachers and staff members. We have also generously provided pastries and coffee for Coffee with Our Principal, a monthly event where parents can meet with our principal and discuss school matters. In addition, the STP has made important contributions towards the physical environment of the school, purchasing 6 trash cans to be installed over the summer and providing 15 yearbooks this past year and 20 yearbooks this year for seniors who were not able to purchase them. The STP also supports student-led organizations and the PB&J Club by supplying them with the necessary materials for their weekly club events. Their dedication extends beyond just this school year. But as this school year comes to a close, we have planned a staff appreciation luncheon on May the 6th in celebration of National Teachers Appreciation Week. Furthermore, we are eagerly anticipating the upcoming senior breakfast, a beloved tradition of the STP organizes every year. The STP is always looking for ways to expand and improve our efforts, and we always welcome new members to join in our mission. Our passion for Santa Rosa High School is making it a better place, and we are truly trying to be inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. So we will now move on to our report section, our D section of the agenda. We will start off with the California School Employee Association, Chapter 75. Is President Lehman here?
President Lehman will not be giving a report tonight.
Okay, we will move on to our Santa Rosa Teachers Association report. President Howe.
Good evening, President Medina, Superintendent Trinell, members of the board, members of the community. thank you to all the teachers and educators that showed up here this evening. My name is Catherine Howell, and I am the president of the Santa Rosa Teachers Association. I represent about 900 teachers in Santa Rosa. And I want to take this time tonight, along with all my fellow educators, my fellow union brothers and sisters in the room, to remind the board and this community that in the midst of our financial crisis and our safety crisis, SRTA is now entering into our 4th month of bargaining with Santa Rosa City Schools. And our proposals that are still on the table are still focused on student safety, because that is our first goal, right? We have shown you multiple times our 4 pillars of safety. I'm going to tell them to you again briefly. The first one is safe schools for all. We know that our schools have to be safe for all of our students and for all of our staff. We're advocating for trained safety security personnel at our sites. I want to say thank you to CSEA and thank you to this district for the new position of safety advisor. It's a huge step in the right direction once we know that those positions have actually been filled. But SRTA does also continue to support the return of SROs to our schools. We're also advocating for safer schools by trying to open the dialogue between the educators and the administrators. We have advocated for teachers, for educators on the district safety committee. We have also advocated for site safety committees in a hope of opening up communications and opening up the information as much as we can. Our teachers need to be able to tell somebody, hey, something isn't right here. We need to be able to follow up some sort of line of communication to a district committee that can turn around and do something about it. We need this to happen when we see things that aren't safe at our school sites, whether it's something that's broken or some behavior that needs to be looked at and you know, dealt with, and students that need to be helped. We're not going to be safe if we don't know what's going on, and we're not going to be safe if our administrators are unwilling to share with us the information that we need to secure our classrooms and to make sure our kids continue to be safe. We also need mental health supports to help us with this. We need to make sure we're decreasing our school counselor ratios. We want to make sure our school psychologists are not overworked. And we need to make sure that mental health supports continue to be available to our students who experience trauma, and also to our staff who are exposed to trauma at work. These are really important things to us. We also, our 4th pillar is relevant and engaging schools. We know that kids are not successful if they are not engaged. We got to keep our good teachers in the classroom. We are going to need your help to figure out what are we prioritizing next year with fewer teachers, with fewer TOSAs to help us with our programs, with fewer counselors at this point. We had, you know, our district librarian, our district office TOSAs that are helping us with everything. How do we deal with these programs? How do we make up for the loss of these people in the classroom next door? We don't know how to do that. We need this district to set some priorities, to tell us what really is important. How do we get through this next year with fewer people, with fewer resources? And we also are still advocating for some smaller kindergarten classes. We're hoping to remediate our huge problem with combo classes that seems to be created by these budget cuts. I learned on Monday that at Monroe School, they're having 7 combo classes next year. The addition of 1 teacher to that school site would reduce that to 1 combo class. What's better for our elementary kids is 1 teacher trying to teach 1 grade level and 1 set of standards. And so we are still advocating to keep that in place. I'm thinking about the report that was just given from Santa Rosa High School, ELAC. One of the things that the parent asked for was the continuation of night school. It's a great program. I think it has been very successful and has helped a lot of students. But you know what we need to do? We need to help those kids before they fail. We are tired of helping the students after they fail, which is what that night school program does. How do we get these kids engaged before they are told that they are failures and have to go to night school? We need your help prioritizing those programs that will do that. Our negotiations continue tomorrow. We are focused, like I said, on safety. You might be wondering why the yellow tonight, right? Yellow symbolizes a lot of things, a lot of contradictory things. It can symbolize hope. And we hope that we can make this work together. We need to create schools with great teachers who are enthusiastic and passionate and that absolutely unequivocally love their students. We know we have those teachers. But what we need to do is make sure that those teachers have the support that they need to do their jobs and to teach in these very lean times. Yellow also could mean fear. Yellow can mean caution. And we're hoping that we're going into next year with hope and optimism and some collaborative ways of pushing forward through our negotiations and through our conversations to make this a better district together. And we don't want to enter next year in fear and caution. Thank you. I also It's a little out of order, but can I give a minute to one of our new union brothers and sisters in the district who don't have a report yet? Would that be okay?
Should be under public comment, not,
Public
it
comment.
shouldn't be.
Okay, thank you.
Now thank you, President Howe. Now we'll move on to the superintendent report.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, President Medina, members of the board, those who are with us in person and online. Today marks day 143 for elementary schools and day 142 for secondary schools. Only 37 more days of opportunity this school year to positively support our students. Our April newsletter is going out tomorrow. If you are not receiving messaging from your school and/or the district, please let your school site know so that we can update your contact information. And lastly, just a friendly reminder that all schools, with the exception of Hidden Valley, are closed this Friday. We have staff who are receiving professional development and our administrators specifically. And all schools are closed on Monday, April 15th. And I'll hand it back to you, being brief this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Turnell. First off, I did want to address one thing you mentioned, President Howe, this night school program. I do agree that it's working well. I've heard a lot of positive things about it, but there are definitely a lot of things that we could do that we need to address so that we help students before they fail. And I think these are very systemic issues that we need to address within our district that aren't going to be fast, easy solutions. But I would love to sit down and work with y'all to address some of these issues. So I just want to throw out that olive branch. Second thing I wanted to address is safety. Just touch up on the issue of what's been happening with our SROs. There's, as many of you know, in December, this board authorized looking into a pilot program on the SROs. Work continues to be done on that. It's work that will be going to what we call the 3x3, the committee of school board members and city council members. There's a working group that's been working on that has been working to develop an MOU that would establish working protocols around what this pilot program would look like. They've asked for more time, and so we've allowed that time, and I think they met last week, and so that work is still to come to us. But I did also want to be clear and transparent that even once that is done, there isn't yet money for that program, as our mayor addressed in a public comment that was published in the Press Democrat. The city's passed their budget. There won't be money to bring that program for the beginning of the next academic year. And before there's any pursuit of any grants or any other funding, the finalized MOU and protocols need to be developed before anything could be pursued. So I just want the community and the public to be aware of where that issue stands, because it's not just going to happen, even though this board has authorized looking into that pilot program. With that said, I did also want to touch base really quick on another issue that a lot of people have expressed concern about after our last board meeting. One of the agenda items was approval of about a little over $800,000 of various contracts tied to bond funds. One specific one was just a little over $400,000 with one of our schools. And so there seems to be some misunderstanding by a lot of folks that maybe that was all the bond projects that were going to be approved. Half of it went to one school. And I just want to clarify that that is not the case. $400,000 is about 0.1% of all the bond money. There's a lot more contracts to be passed. There's a lot more work. Just in today's agenda, there's about $2.7 million of contracts tied to the bond work at various schools. So I just want to be clear that it's not all done. There's still more coming to all our schools. Our facilities master plan has about $1.4 billion of identified needs in our schools. We don't have $1.4 billion, but it just, again, goes to show the amount of need that exists. So there's a lot of need. There's a lot of work to be done. And we're doing it as we can in time. With the limited resources we have, and there's sometimes an order of operations in terms of how things are done. One of the things that I think maybe didn't sound too good in how the contract was written, the language of that contract, it talked about curb appeal, that some of the money from that $400,000 was for what was listed as curb appeal. And I just want to clarify that this is part of what's called the district-wide standards section of the facilities master plan. And so these apply to throughout the district to all school campuses. In the facilities master plan, it's listed as campus visual appearance with curb appeal in parentheses. And so that's kind of where that language came, and maybe it's not the best choice in wording. But I think a lot of people thought that just didn't play off right. So just to go into a little bit of what campus visual appearance is within the facilities master plan, it's the visual appearances of school campuses are important. How campuses appear and how they relate to the community affect the connection between the school and its community. So this is language from the plan. And it also talks about these impressions also have an impact on our students and how they perceive schools and how much their community values their education. So that is one of the components that's part of the district-wide standards. Campus safety and security is also another one of those components of district-wide standards in the facilities master plan. And these are just district-wide along with a bunch of very specific needs to every campus. So I just really wanted to address that because a lot of people expressed concern about that one contract and about what's coming to your respective schools, just to add a little more clarity. And also received comments about people getting in the mail information about a survey, about another possible tax. So just, again, reemphasizing there are a lot of needs. Current past money does not nearly come close to addressing all the needs. So if you get that mailer, it's a survey, do the survey. Put your thoughts in. Let us know what you think are the priorities for the district. So with that said, that's my report, board members. We'll go off with Trustee La Torre, then Trustee La Cruz, then Trustee McNally, and Trustee Sheffield.
Thank you, President Medina. Welcome, community. I just wanted to start off with some opportunities I had last week and this week Last Friday, I had the opportunity to visit Marie Curie High School's art show and ceramic show. And the gratitude and respect I have for Mr. Laughlin and Mr. Zweig, the art and ceramics teachers. They put so much heart and soul and effort into their students, and the creativeness and the amazing projects they were to put forth in the art show were really amazing. Last Saturday, I had the honor to attend the Best Buddies prom, and there are not enough words to encapsulate the joy and the fullness of my heart from attending that event. Thank you. One of my daughters is a coach with the Special Olympics programs, and we went to a basketball tournament a few weeks ago. And something so endearing that my wife shared with me is she wished every parent and student, if they had the capacity, could attend a Special Olympics and special needs students event. The amount of joy and love that they exhibit is beyond humbling. And we have so many different hurdles and challenges that we lift up as being overburdening, but to spend moments with these students and what their daily challenges are, just to be with us, really puts it into perspective. And the amount of love and joy that was in that room. Margaret, thank you so much for being there. Steve Mazaris, other leads that lift these students up, and to have an opportunity for them to go into an environment and it be theirs for the night, to be seen, to be felt, to be themselves, was just so much love. And I'm really appreciate that we had the opportunity to be there with that. Today, I did have the opportunity to join some district members and staff and administrators at Montgomery High School for a groundbreaking ceremony for some new facilities that are upcoming there, much needed. And again, the support of the community, these things cannot be made possible in a public education system without bonds and tax measures. That's how we get funding for these types of projects. So to have that opportunity to celebrate that campus today and see the progress moving forward was very uplifting. This Friday, I'm going to have a great opportunity to go visit the Magical Night of Music with Maria Carrillo High School's music program at Ellington Hall. And just so you hear, just so you know, I really love being involved in these opportunities. I love visiting the students. I love having my feet on the ground and being involved in everything that I'm invited to that I can make time with. But it's not all rainbows and sunshine. We know it's not all amazing. We know it's not all perfect, but we hear you. The emails are being received, the messages are being heard, the discussions I'm having with teachers and students on campus, it's heard. Nothing's fallen on deaf ears. And we are collaboratively unified to do the best we can with what we have, to continue to keep this an amazing school district and push forward with unknowns that are in front of us we're just not aware of. So we will continue to work together. We ask that you continue to work with us, and we can make the best opportunities possible and continue to share your thoughts and opinions and ideas so that we can be unified and work on this as a community.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Today, April 10th, is the birthday of a living legend. Today is Dolores Huerta Day, and 94 years ago, Dolores was born in New Mexico, but spent her early years as a school teacher. And what she saw in her classrooms and in her families and the kids that she taught, the poverty, the disrespect for low-wage workers, for farm workers, the way immigrant kids were treated and taught in the school systems pushed her to become an organizer. And she spent the rest of her adult life creating civil rights movements in everything she touched, whether it was the Community Service Organization, the National Farm Workers Association, or later the United Farm Workers Movement. Dolores has continued to create change and inspire people all over the world in her nonviolence, in her dedication to people who continue to exist on the margins and to shine light and love on those communities. Today, the governor of California continued to make resolutions to make sure that we as Californians really honor and understand the history of people like Dolores and the impact that they have had on our institutions and in the ways in which we have been able to all benefit from her advocacy and from her organizing. So I just wanted to spend a moment kind of saying, sharing a comment that she made, and she says, "Every moment is an organizing opportunity, every person a potential activist, and every minute a chance to change the world." And so I think about, how we really lift up both the history and the current work of our living legends in these communities, and to honor our knowledge of that history and the ways in which we move forward as a school district, as leaders. So feliz cumpleaños, Dolores Huerta. In that spirit, she always comes with some vivas, which means like to live long and to celebrate. And so I just want to say in that spirit, que viva Dolores Huerta.
Que
Long live
viva.
Dolores Huerta. And we have to. Que viva Dolores!
Que viva!
Thank you, thank you. I also want to say thank you to Director Tim Zolinardo and to the amazing work of TOSA Heather Garcia Rossi. I had the privilege of sitting in the Ethnic Studies Advisory Committee earlier this week. It's part of our board member committee service that we have undertaken to really make sure that we get closer to the folks who are really looking to us for policy change and for understanding the impact of our operational decisions, our policy decisions on the ground. And so super grateful to sit with incredible teachers who are really trying to roll out ethnic studies in the best way that they can, and to hear about the kinds of resources and policies that we need to continue, moving forward as district leaders. Just want to say, thank you. It was also super cool to be in that committee. It's really, truly a community effort. So many leaders from different communities of color who all share really unique and beautiful histories that continue to go untold and unknown. And so I can't imagine a more beautiful, aspirational place to really make sure that we do everything we can to honor the histories of folks in our communities and to make sure that our kids know those histories, that they no longer remain concealed, but they are part of the educational opportunities that our district provides. So many thanks for continuing to move us into these committees. Superintendent Trinnell, really grateful for your leadership in that way. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Trustee McNally?
So the weekend before last, I attended a workshop at SCO, Sonoma County Office of Education. It was a workshop on disrupting racism and discrimination in schools. It was a great workshop, so thank you to SCO. But one thing I was really happy about was that I saw so many of our SRCS staff there at the workshop. So I just wanted to say thank you to those of you. I saw some restorative specialists, some of our teachers. So thank you to those of you who attended. But it just made me think of how proud I am in general of our district for the work that we do in equity and anti-racism. Even thinking just about our ethnic studies program, we are miles ahead of other districts, and I am so proud of that. So I just wanted to take a minute to say, I'm so proud of all of our staff for all the work that we do, and of all the communities that I could live in, all the districts that I could serve. I'm happy to be here. I am proud to be here.
Thank you. Trustee Sheffield?
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out and thank you to LoCN for hosting the March 28th Youth Perspective. This was a great evening. The program featured some beautiful performances from Ballet Folkloric and Mariachi Lobos, Melcy Allen, that kicked the evening off. And then we launched into a discussion where we heard from students from across the county talk about issues ranging from mental health, discrimination, violence on campus, and overall their school experiences. And I think it was so powerful because this was an opportunity in a big forum. It was hosted at Windsor High, packed room for us to put these student voices first and to listen to hear their perspectives aside, that even though all of us come into issues with good intentions, as the adults in the room, right? But we miss something. We miss that really critical voice, the number one stakeholder, and that's the students. And so hats off to LOCN. Hats off to folks who were able to attend and hear. I'm not sure, I went on the LOCN website to see if it was something, I know it was recorded, but I wasn't able to find it. But I encourage everybody to take a look at that. Again, it was just an opportunity to hear these voices from our youth. So that's it.
Trustee Manietti?
Thank you. Earlier today, I went to the Ridgeway Career Day organized by their restorative justice specialist, and it was a really well-attended, well-coordinated event. I just want to give a big shout out to the Ridgeway community and school site for having such a successful event. There were a lot of really great organizations and industry partners there to offer information to students about career options. And it was really beautiful to see. I'd love to see that all throughout our district if possible. And I'd also like to take a moment to congratulate the LC community for such a beautiful event on Friday. They had their mariachi and ballet folklorico students come out and perform alongside the lowrider car community and classic car community. It was such a beautiful event. I wasn't able to attend, but I saw videos and pictures and just wanted to give them a little bit of a highlight. Yeah, I think Principal Albavera, did you want to say something? Oh, great. Good. It was such a beautiful event. I so wish I could have been there, but I look forward to other opportunities to see the mariachi and ballet folklorico groups.
I'll just add that I was there, and also some of the LCL on Drumline and Danza Chantot were also there, and it was definitely beautiful. It was great to see the students so engaged in that event, and it was good to see the mariachi and the ballet coordinating together, which is that's some work. So yeah, it was beautiful. With that said, we will move on to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just have to add that while that was going on, I was also supporting the CCLA Cesar Chavez event on Friday, where I was one of the featured dunk tank people. And that was a first for me, and maybe the last, but it's definitely something I can say I've done. And it was a really amazing event. So kudos to CCLA as well. And thank you for having me.
We'll move on to safety reports. Is there a safety report?
I'll just be brief. One of our pillars through thank you, President Medina, members of the board, and everyone with us. One of our pillars through the SART strategic plan, or Safety Advisory Roundtable strategic plan, is a focus on facilities. And today we held a ceremonial groundbreaking for a new 2-story building at Montgomery High School. This project has been several years in the making, and we are very proud to bring this project to fruition. We had many community members, past and present board members, staff, parents, students, and our project partners in attendance today for this momentous occasion, and we are excited for the opportunities that this new learning space will bring to Montgomery High. The projected cost for this 2-story building is $27 million. This action is a testament to our commitment from listening to action, using our bond funds based on the identified priorities that come from the feedback of our individual school communities through the facilities master plan process. And we look forward to the many other projects that we will be working with our schools to complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the migrant education report.
Yeah, it is. It is on. Better? Oh, feedback, sorry. So good. I brought my own tech support with me. Good evening. Thank you for having us here representing the Migrant Education Program for Santa Rosa City Schools. We're excited to share about the program, and this presentation will follow up on some of last year's activities in their totality and cover questions that were asked by the board last year, as well as to present current information about our program this year. And with that in mind, we will hear from one of our students. Maybe.
What of your favorite things from Migrant Ed?
I like reading, figuring out more stuff when I don't know how to say some stuff. Miss Hack and Miss Fries helps me know more stuff, and I like reading.
Nice, thank you. And then what is one of your favorite memories of Migrant Ed, or best memories of Migrant Ed?
I like to do more friends, and also I like the snacks that they gave there. I like reading when the teacher reads to us too, and also we have some more free time to do whatever we want. We could go play, we could do whatever we want.
And this was during summer school? Oh, nice. Thank you.
So to introduce the team, my name is Patricia Law, and I am the coordinator of state and federal programs. I am joined today by Stephanie Barahona. I'm not going to say that correctly. My apologies. Our family engagement facilitator. Lola supports me, and Jessica Hernandez is our teacher on special assignment who is not able to be here tonight. She has classes working on her master's degree, and Stephanie's going to introduce our parent.
Tonight we have our president, Maria Bautista. She's the president of our PAC, the Migrant Ed PAC. We have a video that we will be showing that she made for all of us tonight. So yeah, she's here joining us.
So this slide just shows you an overview of the program and what Migrant Ed includes and how we support our Migrant Ed students and the staff that work with our Migrant Ed students. These are the goals that our Migrant Education Program has. We share with the Region 2, 15 goals that are based on academic and social needs identified in the INAs, or the Individual Needs Assessment. Locally, we focus on 3 main goals. We focus on math, we focus on English language arts, and we focus on school readiness. How we meet those goals is mainly through 2 ways. One is through academic interventions and support, and one is through our student, family, and partnerships with Connections. Again, we focus on ELA, English language arts, and math. We offer tutoring to our families, and those are offered both virtually and in person. We have a pride and a cultural component to the program. We also support summer school. And then for our student, family, and partner connections, we have our parent advisory committee, and we also provide training and resources to our families.
Now, in regards to program eligibility, just to discuss briefly, a family becomes eligible for migrant education if a parent, or guardian works in agriculture, livestock, forestry, or fishing, and 2, a family has moved during the past 3 years. I always like to say how important it is to mention that most of our families have immigrated to the U.S. from other countries and are also considered migrant. They're different things. Even though a family has immigrated to the U.S., that does not mean that they are also eligible for migrant education services. They must have moved to the U.S. and have worked in any of the above-mentioned fields prior to coming to the U.S. in order to qualify for our services. And once the family has qualified for services, they are eligible for a 3-year term And then if the family has moved or still continues to work in agriculture, they can re-qualify after those 3 years. We know that there are challenges that our families face, and staff across the district and even our team may face when recruiting and entering data or engaging with families. So this means that for us, we must ensure that we are looking at these challenges from a systems approach and that we are proactive and persistent in finding ways to resolve those challenges or barriers that we face. So this year we have focused on outreach, which means that we're connecting and providing presentations to district staff regarding the program and eligibility. So that means communicating with registrars, counselors, administrators, site-based FEFs, providing the MigrantNet team with training in ARIES and CalPADS, attending district-wide FEF meetings, for example, attending parent meetings, ensuring admin oversight with Parent Square for consistent and reliable communication, and calling parents with reminders, checking on attendance in regards to interventions, and also collaborating with like homeless foster youth programs or our Indian Ed program. In terms of identification, we have made it a point to collaborate with our information and technology colleagues. And particularly, we focused on the challenges our families face when they enroll into our district. We noticed that there were some barriers in terms of racial categories and met with the IE division and came to a conclusion that unfortunately there isn't much that we can do to change the application process since we must follow some state guidelines. So knowing this information helped us understand the bigger picture. We run a monthly report on our platforms and to check how many students we have and to make sure that the information that we have in that platform is actually correct. In terms of encouraging parents to apply, we have informed registrars, counselors, and FEFs about our processes so they immediately can reach out to us when they have a new parent or think that they have a parent that may qualify for MigrantNet. So then we'll contact that family and submit a form to our regional county for support. And then we also have encouraged our parents to call us when they have a friend who has moved to the U.S. who they think that may qualify for migrant education. And then in terms of transportation, we've also worked with Boys and Girls Club to host after-school interventions. We know that many families have an Indigenous background. To better support our families, we have been in touch with our multilingual department to see if we can change the translation service company to one that is more inclusive of Indigenous backgrounds. So we're hopeful that through our continued collaboration, we can find a solution for that. This particular slide just shows a brief population or the trends for this fall and spring school year. Our numbers fluctuate a lot because a lot of our families' eligibility expire and some of them aren't able to requalify. So that's why it's so important for us to be recruiting families and constantly be in communication with our registrars, counselors, and FAFs since they are the front and center of the school. And we're really glad that we've been collaborating with them because we've been able to gather so much information from them, and we then are able to recruit more MigrantNet families that may need our support. Academic interventions and support. We provide academic support to our students with interventions throughout the year that integrate self and cultural pride and focus on the core subjects of English, language arts, and math. Last year, we piloted a professional learning community with a problem of practice regarding growth mindset, multi-problem solving through communication and math. And this year, we put these ideas into practice with the math session, Running these interventions has shed light on how our migrant students feel seen and heard in the classroom. Our TOSA, who's not here, Jessica Hernandez, focuses her training and coaching of teachers on strategies for academic language in terms of math word problems. In a few practices with students last year, this approach was well liked. So this graph shows an increase in the number of teachers and students that are currently participating. And this year, we also collaborated with ELOP to request priority for our students to participate in the Springboard program that took place in the fall. That was also super beneficial for our students. In supporting secondary students with academic success, we also provide and support and run interventions. For example, as the SRHS Night School, which started in January and was piloted by Dr. Ryan, the SRHS principal. So we worked in tandem with Dr. Ryan and Valerie Jordan, the assistant principal at SRHS, and also worked with our regional representatives. And together as a team, we were able to double the numbers of the migrant students that participated in the SRHS Night School. So Cyber High, SRHS offers it on Monday and Wednesday after school. Counselor Marlene Nemode from SRHS was approved to provide support for migrant students with Cyber High on Mondays at lunchtime. And so we're looking at scheduling retired teachers to push into classes and support migrant students. Also, our regional office supports Cyber High for migrant students exclusively, and it focuses on English. On Wednesdays, currently 6 10th grade students are participating, and we are also piloting a credit recovery Cyber High program for migrant education students for this spring in anticipation of offering a program year-round starting in the fall. This year, we also piloted speech and debate at Santa Rosa Middle School, which was run Tuesday and Fridays. And currently there are 9 students participating. We also have offered this intervention at the high school level. And the only difference is that this intervention can be done in either in Spanish or English. For speech and debate, we're using a TED Ed curriculum, and the goal is for the students to do their own TED Talk. For newcomer students this year, they have the option of writing their speech in Spanish using the English ELA standards. This year, our coordinator, Dr. Law, met with Tim and Dr. Emmanuel Bardelli to talk about possible students who may qualify for AB 1806 and to make important updates to the graduation at 130 credits worksheet for sites. We have shared this with counselors in a team meeting and continue to update as necessary. Sorry. We want to share some of the data from 2022 and 2023 as a follow-up from last year's board meetings. Our academic interventions and support is measured across state and regional averages as demonstrated on the slide. While our elementary program shows higher averages in the state and the region in both ELA and math, our secondary program is much lower. At the secondary level, the following challenges impact our ability to meet the percentage goal. And those are no after-school transportation. Some of our students are working in the evening. Some of them have sports, and some of them are caring for siblings. The 2 biggest factors were transportation and caring for siblings. So to address this, we've piloted a middle school speech and debate course focused on ELA strategies and offered speech and debate at the high school level as well. We put into practice strategies from Jeff Zweizers and Joe Bowler around academic language and math learned in the problem of practice mentioned in regards to the last slide. And we continue to focus on Cyber High, credit recovery, night school for secondary, providing targeted tutoring.
In addition to some of the interventions that we're doing locally during the school year, we also partner with other folks in the area. For example, Sonoma State University has a California Mini Corps program, and currently we have 3 students that attend SSU that then go into our school sites and tutor our students. So it's a great way for them to have role models and hopefully, fingers crossed, to recruit some future teachers into the Santa Rosa City Schools. Right now, they are serving Santa Rosa High School, Elsie Allen, and Lincoln Elementary. So last year, and we will again this year, we offered Migrant Ed K-5. It was a full day program where students were able to come to a morning program, and then they came to a specific Migrant Ed program that focused on ELA, ELD, was focused on project-based learning with math and English as a focus, as well as self-respect and cultural pride. And then they went to the Boys and Girls Club. This year, we are planning to run a 3-week summer school program for Migrant Ed that will have a longer school day with much of the same cultural components. And we're in the middle of hiring for that and are excited to be working on that program. Part of what we offer at secondary in conjunction with Region 2 Butte County is Adelante, which is a program that's hosted at the Santa Rosa JC. It focuses on cultural pride, and that's really for secondary students. So this graph is just showing you kind of by program and total which of our students, what numbers are being served. And this is of particular interest for them because it really is an opportunity to share and network specific to Migrant Ed at the secondary level, grades 6 through 12. So some supporting data for summer interventions. This is from last school year. Since we didn't have an opportunity to share that last year, we're showing you this year in totality. We had a goal for both ELA and math that 60% of our students K through 10th grade would attend at least 20 hours of summer school. And you can see a comparison here between the state, the region, and our districts. So we are not quite at 60%, but as Stephanie talked about, we're doing many things to really help and support our students. And next year with our district service agreement that we just turned in for Migrant Ed, we will have more of a focus on secondary while still doing stuff with our elementary programs.
So in addition to academic interventions and support, we also partner with others to make connections such as those listed on the slide. This year, we met with these groups and communicated out about the program, providing confidential student lists where appropriate. Next year, we hope to work with Multilingual Services to provide a more detailed presentation to our site-based VEFs about Migrant Ed and what it offers. And we hope to partner with our district staff, parents, and regional representatives to also help streamline the process of recruitment. And we really want to focus on educating our partners in what the Migrant Ed program is and what it focuses on. Every year we complete individual needs assessment for migrant education. And this is one of the biggest ways in which we get to engage with our migrant education families. So I'll get into more detail about what an INA is. But as a family engagement facilitator, I'm able to attend ELAC or DLAC meetings and present information to our families to better educate them about our program. Some of our families may be in need of outside resources that the school is able to provide. So through the INA, we gauge who is in need and what they are in need of and how we can support them. And sometimes school site staff also reach out to either me or our migrant at TOSA, and we then follow up with the family to provide the necessary support. Another way of engaging our families is through our parent advisory committee. This is an important opportunity to have a partnership with our families. They're able to feel like they have a voice and give input about interventions in our district in accordance with our DSA. We hold a total of 6 meetings per year. The first meeting was held in September 26th of this school year. During this meeting, we selected a new PAC committee This is our new president here with us tonight, Maria Bautista. And during this meeting, we're able to with other families really understand what our parents want to hear from us and what the topics of interest are. So this year we focused on information about the reclassification process, nutrition, mental health, bullying, cyberbullying, study skills, and homework strategies. Our PAC committee runs the PAC meetings with the support of our migrant TOSA and me as well. And this year was an actual election year, like I mentioned. So we were able to really hear from our parents and provide the necessary supports. As a family engagement facilitator, I feel like it's my responsibility to work in tandem with the other FAFs throughout our district. So I'm really happy that our multilingual director, Eduiges Llamas, invited us to the off-FAF meeting this October. It really was a great opportunity to talk about our program, how students become eligible, the process we follow in recruiting a possible migrant education family, and provide our contact information if they ever have a question or concern. And working together and collaborating, as you can imagine, is extremely important in this type of work. It helps us streamline processes. So specific to my responsibilities, I make sure that I'm always updating or tracking the number of migrant education families that we have. And we also, like I've mentioned, we work with our site FAFs whenever we have questions about a student's enrollment, or if we think that a family is in need of resources, we make sure that we're always collaborating with them as well. And another big part of my responsibility, like I mentioned earlier, is the individual needs assessments. And this, I feel, gives me the opportunity to stay connected with our families and actually engage with them. It also provides an opportunity for me to be able to make sure that our families are doing well. And what I mean by that is mentally that making sure that their health needs are met, academic needs are being met. If there's any food insecurity or home insecurity, then I helping them make sure that they're a priority for me, and then working with the region to provide whatever is necessary.
Another way that we support our students is through school readiness, and this is with our Pasitos Científicos program, now in its second year and modeled after a successful program in Napa. So this slide is just showing you a little bit about Pasitos Científicos and what it is about. We're happy to let you know that last year's result, we met our goal. We, in fact, exceeded that goal. The goal was that 40% of our students ages 3 through 5 would attend at least 15 hours of school readiness to, in fact, get them ready for school. And we met that with a 64% rate. So we're very proud of that. We also just want to do a little shout out to our Butte County partnership. We are part of Region 2, which has an ongoing enrollment of approximately 8,000 students in 23 of the Northern California counties, including ours. So we partner with Butte County, and as Stephanie mentioned, when there are families that need additional services that we can't provide, we refer them and they're able to get connected to counseling services, dental, health, therapy, anything that we're not able to access or provide them with. There currently are 2 regional intervention specialists that work with high school students, 9 through 11, but they are for Northern California, and you can imagine only having 2, they are stretched quite thin. So we're excited to be promoting and be a part of taking some of that caseload on. So in the fall, Stephanie and Jessica will be taking on between 10 and 15 students. They'll start with freshmen, and we'll be working from a booklet that we're purchasing from the region on how to succeed in high school. And so there are topics like, how do you organize your binder? How do you read your transcript? How do you read your progress report? Just things like that. And they will be meeting with them at least for an hour, at least once a week. They'll also be meeting with parents and connecting with school sites. So we're really excited. That's one of the ways that we are turning our attention more towards secondary while still keeping a focus on our elementary students for the fall. And then lastly, we're very proud to have Senora Batista here. We are going to show a video that we recorded of her. I'm going to start it, and I need a moment to set up closed captions in English. And I'm going to turn up my volume.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Bautista.
Sorry, I want to do the...
Sánchez. Estoy aquí en esta tarde. Voy a leerles un poquito de lo que yo escribí, de mi experiencia que tengo con este programa. Son muchas cosas, pero yo quise hacer un resumen para no alargar tanto esto. Soy la presidenta del Comité Asesor de Padres Migrantes del Distrito de Santa Rosa. Quiero compartirles un poquito de mi experiencia de este programa. Antes que fuera nombrada presidenta del comité, yo acudí a ellos para alguna pregunta o necesidad y siempre tenían oídos para escucharme. Y de ahora en adelante, hasta esta fecha, ellos me han enseñado a cómo revisar una agenda para llevar a cabo una junta. También cómo dirigir una junta con los padres, conocida como PAC. Ahora tengo 3 hijos y como madre he visto que mis hijos tienen todo el apoyo de este programa. Por ejemplo, han participado en diferentes programas del programa migrante. El lenguaje de inglés, lectura, escritura, matemáticas y en discursos. Y con todo esto yo les agradezco a la maestra, principalmente a la maestra, en general también a los integrantes que la ayudan. Pero le dirijo esto a la maestra Jessica Hernández. Por cada vez que acudo a ella, ella hace todo lo que puede para ayudarme. Y la verdad, yo me regreso muy feliz con esa ayuda que ella me brinda. Y también me ha ayudado a aprender, a abogar por mis hijos. Esta es un poquito de mi experiencia. Pero la verdad, tengo mucho que decir de este programa, gracias a ellos. Y es todo lo que puedo decir. Y muchas gracias a la maestra Jessica Hernández otra vez.
Okay. Well, we had one more slide that just said thank you. And we want to thank Mrs. Bautista for being here in support. We really appreciate that and appreciate her leadership with our parents this year. And we have PDFs of this presentation for you in both English and in Spanish, and those were sent forward. So I'm sure that you will get those. We very much appreciate your patience and your listening ears, and most importantly, your support of our students throughout the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. Gracias, señora Bautista, por hablar. Trustee De La Cruz has a question.
I just had a comment and a question. I want to thank you for your attention to Indigenous language-speaking people in our community. That's an increasing population in agricultural work. And there's a lot of misidentification of indigenous language speakers as Spanish speakers or as, mestizo mexicanos. So I know you're looking for resources to really strengthen translation services to these populations, and I just want to offer some support. The Office of Equity at the county level has been working through a language access policy and plan. And in that effort, we've done a ton of community engagement with a really intentional, with some attention to indigenous language speaking populations. And so we've developed some really great resources and relationships with community-based organizations who can provide some really critical supports to people, because there's a multiplicity of indigenous languages that are being spoken currently here in our community. And it can be complicated to work with folks and to develop that confianza that allows them to actually share with you, right, who they are, what languages they speak, and then kind of what subgroups within those language groups, right? Because it really is tied to where somebody is from, their pueblo, their municipio. So thank you, and I'm happy to help in that regard to kind of build some of those bridges between our community-based organizations and the needs that our institutions have when we're really paying attention to the people that we serve. Y muchas gracias, señora Bautista, por todo el trabajo que usted hace como parte de este programa. Se nota los beneficios y también la importancia para sus hijos y su éxito. So, muchas gracias.
Thank you for that.
Thanks again. Do we have a CSB report? No? Okay. Oh, we're done. We're gonna move on to the next section. Thank you. We will now be moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the board on non-agenda items. Comments on items that are on the agenda will take place during that discussion on that agenda item. If you do want to speak now on non-agenda items, make sure you have submitted a blue card. You can get one of those up there and complete it and turn it in. I have several here. You will be limited to 2 minutes. And with that said, I did just want to make a quick comment. I see a lot of people with signs. I can't read them because my vision's getting bad. So if you want to take a picture, send it to me, maybe tell me a little bit about what it means. I can read the free Java because that's really big letters. I don't know if it's free coffee or what it means, but maybe you can tell me about it. But with that said, I'm going to call 3 people at a time. Once I call your name, you'll be up at the podium. Then the 2 people that follow get lined up, ready to speak. You can speak at either podium upstairs. Again, 2 minutes. So I'm going to call up first Adina Flores, followed by Ross Haas, followed by Donna Pratt.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. As the largest activist in this county and former executive assistant to this board and superintendent, I have some major issues with the nonprofits which continually partner with this district. This district's very aware because I emailed every single trustee and the superintendent at the dais that with the Boys and Girls Clubs locally, there were children that were molested by Dwayne Kilgore. Sonoma Marin, as well as Sonoma Valley, are active defendants. There were at least 12 John Does that we know of. These pairs of brothers were being molested by Mr. Kilgore and staff, and at the Boys and Girls Club and within the district knew, and everyone in the county essentially has been involved in covering this up. I have the whistleblower here this evening who's been fighting for these young boys for 8 years. And when I hear their story, because we're still in touch with the victims and their families, it makes me cry every time, and I'm here to speak on their behalf. So I ask, because I'm not even Latino, I have Latino trustees on this board who know that this is going on and won't speak about it. I understand that this is Santa Rosa Schools, but they're partnered with you. And there were so many people involved in covering this up. Ms. Michelle Carlton, the board president at the time, was a colleague of my father's who I've told you many times was a felon. And I don't know what they were doing, but my father was involved in matters which were nefarious. So why are so many people covering this up? As again, the largest activist in this county, I'm still working on cases in Vallejo where I just moved back from. Same thing, we just had somebody arrested in American Canyon for alleged sexual assault. So what is going on? I am a follower of Christ. I believe in sharing the truth. I don't care. I've been labeled as every name under the sun in the paper at this point. I just want justice for these kids, and I'm tired of political narratives. So God bless you. I hope you can find God. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ross Haas, followed by Donna Prack, followed by Scott Green.
Hello, my name is Ross Hawes. I'm a teacher at Luther Burbank Elementary School. First off, there were 2 recent incidents in Windsor and American Canyon, both shocking and scary in different ways. SROs at both sites were incredibly instrumental in getting to the bottom of things, stopping the threats and keeping kids safe. The way Windsor relied on their resource personnel, valued their expertise in collaborative relationships is a model for our community. Those 2 instances are perfect examples how SROs can make a difference. Secondly, you've let go numerous teachers and SRCS family members from our educational family, people who directly support our kids' learning. With more, and great job on the report by the Migrant Ed, and Burbank has the highest Migrant Ed student population on our site, TOSA. It works a lot of hours with them is being cut. We don't have the money to keep staff or student supports, but we have excess cash to burn, changing the name of Monroe Elementary, which has a variety of real costs and countless hidden costs. Bad optics on this one. We have a bigger and more immediate needs for that money. The Monroe community doesn't want the change. Forcing it again is disingenuous and makes people distrust the process. We have so many unnamed libraries and learning centers in this district. What better place to highlight achievement, increase representation, and celebrate our rich diversity of our community? We want to impact student learning, increase connections, and elevate inspiration. Let's start this by transforming our libraries and media centers. Let's not only dedicate them to local heroes and heroines, but let's elevate the voices and stories that we tell within them. This is less divisive, it's more affordable, can be done in an exciting and enriching way for all of our kids. It achieves the board's goals and would gain tremendous support and enthusiasm from our teaching and learning community. Don't waste money on changing the name on the box, especially when you don't have the cash. Improve the contents and the nutritional value of what's in the box and make a bigger impact on our
Thank you.
students.
Your time is up. Next, I have Donna Prack, followed by Scott Green, followed by Leah Poussin.
Do I push the, it's been a while. While I acknowledge the desire to maintain the safety and aesthetics appeal of Maria Carrillo High School, I believe our district's priority should be ensuring the safety and well-being of our students and addressing critical infrastructure deficiencies. It is disheartening to witness significant resources being directed towards artificial turf to fight weeds. Last year, Pinehurst baseball field had so many divots and gopher holes in the outfield that we had an outfielder sprain his ankle. Our baseball team rented a steamroller and we filled the holes with additional dirt and steamrolled the outfield until it was safe for our players. While other schools within the district continue to grapple with safety hazards such as failing gutters, large potholes on campus driveways, outdated portables, lack of drinking fountains, and inadequate safety barriers, I am angry because when Maria Carrillo High School is so sought after, students are being turned away because the school is at capacity. There is no concern that this school lacks curb appeal. Prioritizing this project in any way is a tone deaf to students' experiences in every school in the district. As I continue to work to find funding for the most basic projects at Pioneer and CCLA, you are ensuring that the most affluent school in Santa Rosa City Schools District doesn't need to involve its parents. The rest of our schools organize beautification and field maintenance days to keep our ground weeds free. And when I'm not doing that, I'm getting microscopes for Pioneer High School because I got those donated last year. I shouldn't have to do that. I would like to ask the school district and board members to pause the contract procurement process for the artificial turf installation and reconsider the funding of such a superficial facility request. Look, I get it if it's in the facility master plan, but that shouldn't be a priority. Fences around Abraham Lincoln Elementary School that they've been asking for over 15 years, that should be a priority. Being that school on West 9th, that's a priority. It is imperative that we prioritize investments that directly impact safety and students' learning conditions rather than cosmetic enhancements that offer no benefit in these crucial areas. By redirecting resources toward addressing
Thank
pressing
you.
safety concerns
Your,
and
your time
infrastructure.
is up, Donna.
efficiency-
Thank you.
Nope, you may.
Thank you. Next, I have Scott Green, followed by Leah Passan, followed by Margaret Boone.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. I'm Scott Green. I'm a father of 2 kids in the ArtQuest program at Santa Rosa High School. And it has come to our attention that the ArtQuest program is going to see a contraction of classes and size due to lack of enrollment. And I'd like to plead with you to reconsider contraction and combination of classes in that way. We see through governments all the time that if you try to do more with less, suddenly your budget is less and it will continually be less. It never goes back to levels where it was before. So as an aberration where we have incoming students that may not necessarily equal the amount that they did before, we are going to have those students come in from the 8th grade and 7th grade levels and forward in the coming years. The other side effect that we have is when you combine classes, you lose teachers, and teachers in these specialty fields in the arts are extremely hard to find, especially with the aplomb and the knowledge that these teachers have with dance, with art, with music, with acting and theater. It sounds like we need to have more arts. We need to have more things where people are engaged in more thoughtful pastimes, not necessarily just sports, but more outlets where people can be themselves and truly evolve and find their voices and find their path in life. I've had plenty of friends that have gone through and become teachers because they found that there was a teacher in band that they absolutely fell in love with, and it was the thing that sent them on to be a history teacher. If we can start making impacts on these people and in these programs, it's only going to be a good thing for our community. So I plead that you keep these things open the way they are and do not decrease the funding for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Leah Passan, followed by Margaret Boone, followed by Michael Converse.
Hello, I am Miss Leah, otherwise known as the ArtQuest Santa Rosa High dance teacher and director. I wanted to also say similar things. The ArtQuest program, it's a strong 30 years right now. Usually magnet programs like that maybe will last 10 years, but it's a legacy in this area. It teaches students not only the particular arts that they love, to harness the techniques and to go on to maybe college with these or be a professional in that art, but it also is a way to keep them in school and to graduate and to be on a path where they do well because they want to. And the way that the ArtQuest program is, we really cater to people that they're students to particular levels, and it's really important that we keep the program going as it is. And if we cut several sections of it and try to combine, levels beginning through advanced, it's going to be detrimental to the program. And that's what a lot of us are very concerned about. Whether it's video fine arts or theater or dance, if you take it in another perspective and say, what if it was the subject of math, you wouldn't put students that are Algebra 1, geometry, pre-calc, all of that together in one class and expect them all to get to their potential and to learn to their best ability and to like school. A lot of my students and ArtQuest students alone, just because they're in ArtQuest, they go to school. And just because they're in ArtQuest, they try harder in even the other classes. And they make lifelong memories. Friends, they feel accepted, which is a huge, big deal for them. A lot of them feel different and this is a program that really not only accepts them, but makes them feel special, and it helps them to live their life. And I just really want to encourage you to.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next, I have Margaret Boone, followed by Michael Converse, followed by Melissa Stewart.
Good evening. Tonight, I wanted to talk about some general concerns about the state of special ed in our district.
Over the last few years, we've taken back kids from SCO and non-publics that have more challenging behaviors, more intense academic needs, and more medical needs. Starting next year, we will be dramatically ramping up those takebacks. SCO classes and the like are very costly for our district. We need money. It makes sense we don't want to pay $80,000 per kid to send them away. That being said, though, if we have these kids, we need to staff and run our schools like the schools we were outsourcing them to. For the last few years, we have really struggled with the level of violence many of these kids have brought to our rooms. Just last week, I was pulled by my hair across the blacktop outside my classroom. That's not an anomaly. We've lost many great teachers who didn't want to get beat up and have their rooms trashed, so they quit. It's not that we don't have great behaviorists, we do, but we need more supports, trained assistants, trained teachers, rooms designed for these kids, etc. And what about our medical kids? I have 3 now, but my LVN quit at spring break. So the only district LVN has been in my class since then, which is unsustainable. As we take back many medical kids, how will we staff the nursing when we can't even staff it now? We need to do a better job with these kids, especially as we take back dozens and dozens more. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Michael Converse, followed by Melissa Stewart, followed by Deborah Tapia de Martin.
Good evening, Board. I'm here tonight on behalf of teachers and students at Pioneer High School, and I'm here to speak for someone who can't necessarily quite speak. She's our friend, Java, the beloved service dog. Just to get you kind of familiar with Java, she's a certified facility dog at Pioneer, raised and trained professionally by canine companions. She has a current national public access certification that allows her to go anywhere our students can be. She can get past TSA and get on airplanes. She's got that kind of certification. Unfortunately, the current abrupt policy change about dogs on campus is not recognizing that certain animals have priority in campus access. We are supportive of a process being in place, but the process needs to be efficient, clearly communicated with accurate information. We have all the proper paperwork ready for a meeting, but because the district is impacted by moving sites, we haven't heard back about a meeting about scheduling a meeting. The district wants to be named in the insurance policy, which CCI is more than happy to comply with. The district has not been able to provide what exactly they would like included in the statement, which CCI needs in order to comply with this request. As this is something the district is asking every animal to provide, they need to provide a clear statement of what should be on the insurance. The students and staff desperately miss her. I have letters from students that, with 13 seconds left, I can tell you, they say they've had panic attacks. Their dog is there for anxiety. She is there to comfort them. Please bring Java back.
Thank you. That answered my question. Melissa Stewart, followed by Deborah Tapia de Martin, followed by Micah Carlin Goldberg.
Good evening. First, a big thank you to Superintendent Trunell and Trustee De La Torre for attending the groundbreaking ceremony at Montgomery today. Your presence and support is greatly appreciated. Last school board meeting, there was a resolution calling for a ceasefire. Many students spoke how if this resolution was passed, it would make them feel unsafe at their school. Now let's go back to when students, teachers, and parents begged for SROs to be brought back on our school campuses to help with the uptick in violence. The reason that it was denied was said because a small percentage of students might feel uncomfortable with police presence on our school campus. So please clarify why one small group of students that feel threatened by a resolution is being ignored, but another group of students is supported. Why the inconsistency? Also, last week, the budget was approved by the board that over $400,000 is to be allocated for a turf project at Maria Correa High School in the current bond measure. We have other schools asking for fencing and basic maintenance needs that affect safety that are not being addressed or simply being told no. Please explain who thought this was a priority for our district, and as a parent, I'm asking for further transparency. Here's a quote from the master plan. The visual appearances of school campuses are important. The campuses appear, how they appear and how they relate to the community affect the connection between the school and its community. The initial impression that people get from the exterior of our school can have a lasting impact on their perception of that school and its value in the community. These impressions also have an impact on students and how they perceive the schools and how their community values their education. Please explain why a school that has to turn away hundreds of students is being given money for curb appeal or turf, as it was headlined. When other schools are patiently waiting for their turn, I see an inequality with the state of some of our school
Thank you.
campuses.
Your time is up.
All students deserve to take.
Next, I have Deborah Tapia de Martin, followed by Micah Carlin Goldberg, followed by Iris Peoples.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deborah Tapia de Martin. I have kids that attend the French American School. A few months ago, when the facility master plan was presented to our community, the district informed us that due to the location of our school, which is near a fault, there won't be any renovations performed in our school. Our community was alarmed and concerned about the safety of our children on campus. The community asked for additional studies looking at the precise location of the fault and the structural review of the conditions of the buildings to make sure that they are in fact safe for our children. In addition, the community also highlighted the various repairs that our school site needs. Out of the top of my head, I know that we have a lot of leaky roofs in certain rooms, HVAC issues. We received the report this week. The report shows that the school is near a fault, but it doesn't directly sit on top of it. And I quote, "The buildings on campus are in generally good condition for their age," end quote. There were recommended structural upgrades and concerns. Quote, "The north side of one of the buildings is almost entirely windows. There's little to no solid wood shear wall to resist seismic forces. So it was recommended some of the windows to be infilled with wood shear wall," end quote. The report made structural recommendations, but not requirements. The report doesn't show anything that would preclude the district from making repairs to the existing buildings. I hope that tomorrow at the meeting that you have, in which you're going to show the report to our community, you're going to address these repairs that are absolutely needed for kids to have an equitable access to a good environment to learn in. I did a bit of research, and the Department of Education has in the past approved modernizing buildings to address water leaks, mold, HVAC upgrades, since they are not considered
Thank you, Deborah.
reconstruction.
Your time is up.
Thank you so much.
Next, I have Micah Carlin Goldberg, followed by Iris Peoples, followed by Bailey Russell Willis.
Good evening. My name is Micah Carlin Goldberg. I'm a sixth grade teacher at Steel Lane. Last week, I addressed you during your communication plan about the fact that the district relies almost entirely on Parent Square for getting communications out to parents, which is not reliable or effective. I mentioned the need for paper, and I believe you misunderstood me, because the response from one of the board members was, well, we're not stopping the schools from using paper. That wasn't my point. We are using paper because we know it's what our families need. The school district is not using paper for the school district's programs. Last summer, there was environmental education available for elementary school students. My students didn't hear about it. This year, we have summer school, environmental education during the summer for elementary school students. As far as I know, my students still have not been told about it. There was no paper that went home about any of the summer school opportunities for my students. When I send a note home to my parents, I get maybe a quarter of them responding. When I talk to my parents, they go, oh yeah, I signed it up, but I've changed phones and it's not on my new phone. But as far as Parent Square is concerned, they still have it. Digital-only communications are not effective with our student population at Steel Lane, or at James Monroe, or at Helen Lehman, or at most of our schools. And yet we have gone to, oh, everybody's got a smartphone, let's send them a note on Parent Square and we're good enough. It's not good enough. My students at Steel Lane should have every opportunity to join all of these extra programs that happen during the summer, the same as students at more affluent schools where their parents are on Parent Square, where their parents are receiving notes, right? We are not communicating with our families what is available for their students for enrichment. It's not going home in a way that they can receive it. So yes, as I said last meeting, your communication plan is not a plan about communicating. We need to get the information to people, or it's not a communication plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Micah. Next, we have Irish Peoples, followed by Bailey Russell Willis, followed by Kelsey Bettle.
Hello, board, and hello, members of the community. Oh, there we go. Oh, thank you. I'm actually here as a concerned parent because the vote or the information that I got, it appeared that Maria Carrillo's lawn is more important than certain other facilities for other kids. And I have big concerns about that. I heard today somebody mention beautification days at school. I've been to a few of them, especially in elementary school. I also have volunteered with City of Santa Rosa Park and Rec Department, specifically neighborhood services, like during Junior Giants. And the fields are disgusting, so parents have to go into the schools at like Elsie or at other places, and we did the weeding, us and the kids. And I know another teacher talked about the potholes that a kid sprained their ankle on, and then those kids had to go in there and steamroll to fix those facilities. And so I'm just concerned, and I just don't understand, because it doesn't seem like it's very hard. Like if you don't know what to do with the money, divide it up by however many kids are in the district, and then give to each school according to how many children that they are servicing. Or figure out what the needs are of this facilities that need the most, and then give it to them first. I think the priorities are out of whack. And I hope that you guys, obviously you care about the kids, but I hope you care about all the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Bailey Russell Willis, followed by Kelsey Vettel, followed by Lee Vandeveer.
Give me 1 second, just grabbing my notes here. Yeah, I'm going to keep it pretty brief tonight. My name is Bailey Russell Willis, and I'm just here as a concerned community member. I just wanted to say that I am in solidarity with the NAACP, North Bay Organizing Project, and Mecha Day SRJC, and their call for police-free schools. Fun kids, not cops. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Kelsey Vettel, followed by Lee Vandeveer, followed by Erandi Hernandez Aguilar.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Vero, and I'm here in opposition to the implementation of school resource officers and to bring up the school to prison pipeline, because I have heard some folks here say that they are tired of hearing about it, which exemplifies the privileged viewpoint that is driving this issue. I oppose the use of police in schools because it is demonstrably ineffective. It takes funding from other important programs, and it puts our most vulnerable kids at greater risk, including students of color, those that face mental health challenges, our English learners, and students who are queer, low income, unhoused, undocumented, neurodivergent, or disabled. These marginalized identities together may be a small percent of students by definition, but their needs still deserve to be considered in our decision-making. I sometimes hear SROs described as highly trained, but after the police academy, the training required to become an SRO is about 40 hours, far less than certifications in counseling or social work or the like. About the police academy, it includes training that is known as killology. And that is not a term that accountability advocates came up with. That term was coined by the person who does the training, David Grossman, who has conducted trainings for every federal law enforcement agency and every branch of the armed forces and cops in all 50 states. Grossman teaches what he calls the study of killology, which aims to reduce officers' psychological inhibition to killing suspects. I'll leave you with his quote: "We fight violence. What do we fight it with? Superior violence, righteous violence." Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Lee Vanderveer, followed by Randy Hernandez Aguilar, followed by Jason Farnham.
Thank you, Board. I too am in solidarity with the NAACP and against police officers in schools. As a former educator, it is the fewest children who I'm most concerned with. I am most concerned with those who are historically oppressed and who continue to suffer oppression either because of whatever. I also see very clearly that you're working with no money. We live in an area where we have the richest people on the planet. They don't put their kids in public schools. They don't have to pay, right? But they are most likely the employers of every single parent in the schools. So we have billionaires who do not pay a living wage, and we have students who are stressed and probably helping their parents earn money. And then we have a city council that is more interested in investing in military equipment and funding that instead of funding our schools. So they have defunded you. The city council has defunded our schools. And now the only thing that is the option is like, well, let's have law enforcement instead of the practices that are known to help, that the data reports helps. The list goes on, and I'm just in solidarity with everybody who's spoken up against continued oppression inside the schools. And also, I just want to point out, this also has a huge, the mental health thing, officers are not trained. 40 hours is not enough to know if a student is experiencing a moment where they are not able to respond. It's called selective mutism. It is called, I'm going to lose my time, but the other thing is language justice. We don't have language justice and we don't have skilled
Thank you. Your
officers.
time
Thank
is
you.
up. Next, I have Randy Hernandez Aguilar, followed by Jason Farnham, followed by Sheila Walker.
Hello, my name is Erandi Hernandez Aguilar. Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Erandi Hernandez Aguilar. I'm part of Mecha de SRGC and the Safety and Belonging Coalition. Soy parte de Mecha de SRJC, la coalición de seguridad y pertenencia del condado de Sonoma. I want to use the rest of my time for us, if there's any people left over, to take a look around at these signs, these questions, and a moment of silence so that we can reflect and think about our values. Quiero usar el resto de mi tiempo para que fijamos y leemos los preguntas y para que podamos pensar y reflejar en nuestros valores.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next, I have Jason Farnham, followed by Sheila Walker, followed by Ashley Bell.
Thank you. I am trying to wrap my head around what happened here at the last meeting a couple weeks ago. Mr. Medina, if I may, you introduced a ceasefire resolution that is thousands of miles away and you vote on it. You get it passed, wrapped up with a bow, all in an hour and a half. You force this issue through among fierce opposition, I might add, from students. Yet you can't, or you won't, take the time to introduce a very local resolution that affects us right here in Santa Rosa, and at least hold a vote on reinstating our SROs to keep our kids safe in our schools. An SRO program with modifications, they're willing to work with you. You gave a report today about the exploratory committee. Respectfully, I'm sorry, but I'm just not buying it. That was December 13th. It's now April. Of course, the city hasn't set aside funding for it in the fall because there's been no progress with it. And yet, just a couple weeks ago, there was another incident at Slater where one girl was smashing another girl's head repeatedly on the ground. I'm not making this up. This is why we're so frustrated. We parents are frustrated. Our teachers are frustrated. Our students, our kids are frustrated. And we have had enough. You've heard from students who are up here emotional, pleading with you for more safety. And the lack of progress on this is extremely disheartening. Thank you.
Next, we have Sheila Walker, followed by Ashley Bell. So Sheila Walker, followed by Ashley Bell, followed by Michael Stanford.
Good evening. I would just like to add that I am here because I was listening to your last meeting, and I almost drove here after I heard two young ladies, I believe one was an 11-year-old and another high school student, who talked about seeing a swastika at one of our schools. As the board may know, I used to attend your meetings via Zoom all the time. I did it for 2 years. In fact, 2 years ago, I asked to the community, and I'm going to say it again right now, we need parents to run for this school board. I pulled my kid out, and I think many of you know why. He was bullied, he was harassed. It was a safety issue. 2 weeks ago, I was in conversation, and I've actually talked to one of your board members here, to put my kid back in Santa Rosa City Schools so that he could graduate and do the last 2 years at a high school. I don't know that I can do that after sitting in my car in my pajamas, waiting to pick up a carpool of kids from a music lesson. I heard these young women speak. I don't know them, I don't know their family, but I was infuriated. Why did this board waste time on a ceasefire resolution when there are more important things to discuss? It passed, by the way. We did have 2 of you say that you wouldn't vote. You should have voted no. It was wrong. On the issue of budget, Mr. Medina, you all, with your leadership, lost that funding with the Santa Rosa Police Department. $1.8 million was funded by Measure O and the SRPD. When this board, minus 2 of you that are sitting here, voted 7-0 against its own committee in 2020,
Thank you. Your time is
lost
up.
the money.
Next, I have Ashley Bell, followed by Michael Stanford, followed by Jared Johnson.
Hi, Ashley Bell, Santa Rosa High School. I am a proud member of SRTA, our teachers union, and I am an avid supporter of organized labor. And I sincerely believe that when someone performs labor for you, you pay them. People who don't pay for labor that have been already received are not the kind of people that receive more help. You know, Donald Trump doesn't pay people after they do labor. So for us to not pay our labor partners after they performed a service for us is anti-labor. And I know that this board isn't anti-labor, but that response is a political response, but it's an anti-labor response. So I understand the divisions in the room regarding paying the police the $37,000, but our internal dialogue surrounding SROs and their presence or not on our campuses should not stop us from paying other labor brothers and sisters from being paid for the service they already provided. It already happened. I think it's inappropriate, and I think it's unfair, and I think it is incredibly anti-labor, and it sort of freaks me out as a person who is involved in a labor union, that we have people who would vote against paying people for work they performed. What if you decided that you weren't happy with the results of my class, that too many of my students failed? Would you just decide not to pay me? Is that an option? Is that a real thing that we're gonna entertain, not paying someone for their labor? I'm just real upset about it. On a separate note, last week, Santa Rosa High School, we had 2 fights in the same day. One was down the hall from me. The second was downstairs, and I heard a colleague yelling, and I ran down to help. Violence is happening. It's on the rise. We're not looking for SROs to arrest kids for having vapes. We're looking for support when it comes to violence. I have had 0 hours of mental health training support, so the 40 hours the police have is going to be more than me. This week alone, too, there were 2 swastikas removed from a bank of lockers in Santa Rosa High School upstairs.
Thank
One
you.
bank.
Your time is up. And just really quickly, just to add on the vendor warrant, the services you mentioned, those are on the agenda today to be approved. I'm just going to work on sending a letter about thoughts on the services rendered along with it. Thank you. Next, I have Michael Stanford, followed by Jared Johnson.
Hello, Board and President Medina, my former colleague at the county. Good to see you. I am Mike Stanford, head custodian at Rincon Valley Middle School, and I am here to inform you that after a successful organizing campaign that resulted in a supermajority of the supervisory staff at Santa Rosa City Schools choosing International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 665 as our bargaining representative, we urge the board to speedily recognize us so that we can work together to solve the issues that pertain to us and make SRCS a better place to work without retaliation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Jared Johnson, followed by Diana Olivares.
Good evening. My name is Jared Johnson. I'm a father of a daughter at the ArtQuest dance program. Also, and now why am I crying? Also a board member for the Boosters organization that supports the dance program. So I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. There's been a proposal to cut the programs, right? And we know that that's based on classroom size. The arts programs, though, I know there are standards set for the education system that says a class should have 30 people. I understand that, right? But dance and theater and these programs should be held outside of those guidelines because dance involves movement. The room that they dance in right now is not even big enough for the 18 or 20 kids that they have in there. And so unless we're going to triple the size of their room, they can't support 30. And if we do cut their programs, then what we're doing is we're putting them into a downward spiral where ArtQuest won't even exist anymore. And my daughter, who wants to be there in 3 years following her sister, won't have a program to go to. These programs, they get the children involved. They keep them engaged in the school. They give them a safe place where they can just be themselves. I encourage you all to come to the shows and see what this dance program does. Beginning and intermediate show is April 26th and 27th. The dance company show is May 24th and 25th. Come watch. See what Miss Leah is able to teach these children. See the impact that this program has. If you cut it, it will be gone. And these students will lose that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Diana Olivares.
Hello, Superintendent and Board. Thank you for taking my comment. I rushed down here in my slippers. I don't know, I have much to say, but little time as usual. But it's my right to have this time. I was told I couldn't comment when I walked in because I was too late. I sat down and I complied, and then I decided to ask again, and now I'm allowed to comment. This is a perfect example of what our students' rights are, our teachers' rights are, our classified rights, teachers or classified employees' rights are. They have a right to safety. They have a right to transparency. I don't have anything prepared here tonight, but I would like to touch on a few things. One is I feel some cattiness in the board this evening with comments after the community has commented about bond measure money or vendor warrants. And in my opinion, the responsibility falls on the board. So if there's anyone showing up that has no idea about LCAP funding, general funding, bond funding, if the public, parents and families are confused, that's because the board is not doing their job. So to make comments, it's disgusting to me because everyone here works a full-time job. They have families, some single-family households. They do all they can to come here, and you are not doing your job explaining everything to everybody. And I appreciate, one board member said they went to the La Cienega Youth Forum. That's fine and dandy, but this board, Santa Rosa City School Board, should focus on Santa Rosa City School families, students, teachers, classified staff, not all the communities, members, and all the nonprofits that keep showing up. Focus on people that you were
Thank you,
elected
Ms. Olivares. Your
to
time is up. Now we will move on to our F, discussion and action items. Our first item, F1, is resolution in support of National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I'll pass it over to you, Superintendent Trunell.
Thank you, and I'd like to welcome Ms. Stephanie Barahona Castro to come down as well to share in this item with me. Board, tonight we present resolution number 2324-58 in support of National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I will turn it over to Stephanie to share more information.
April is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, a time dedicated to raising public awareness about sexual violence and educating communities on how to prevent it. Victims of sexual violence often find themselves isolated, without support from family or friends, and in need of medical and legal services. Reflecting on the resolution in recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, I am heartened by the collective efforts to address and prevent sexual violence. As someone who has endured the pain of prolonged sexual abuse in childhood, the acknowledgement of the devastating impact of sexual assault and the promotion of educating support and respect within our communities offer a beacon of hope. It reassures me that no one has to navigate their healing journey alone, and that our shared commitment of fostering a safe and respectful environment can bring about meaningful change. The recognition of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month is a powerful step toward eradicating sexual violence, empowering survivors, and ensuring a future where everyone can live free from fear. Thank you.
And with that, we hand it back to the board for your consideration.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
Thanks for the presentation. Board members,
You're good.
any discussion, comments, questions? Are there any public comments on this item? Looks like we have one public comment. Sedina Flores.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. I'm a little bit frustrated because, as I expressed, we're talking on this agenda item about sexual assault awareness, and the whistleblower who is here regarding this very issue, that out of only 200 employees, there's one employee in the entire Boys and Girls Club organization that spoke up for the John Does 1 through 12 being molested. And on the last agenda item for non-agenda items, she was told she got here too late and couldn't comment. So it seems like we don't want transparency from the stakeholders about very important community issues. So what awareness? I actually had the Sonoma police chief essentially threaten me and tell me that the Latino community trusts him now. So why would I mess that up for them? Well, I think it's important when we're talking about the fact that pairs of brothers were being molested by Dwayne Kilgore and filmed. And one of the younger brothers was made fun of in his school because the classmates found out. The older John Doe actually committed suicide. He cut himself from his wrist all the way up his forearm. These families are speaking out and being offered by, racist individuals that were imported into the county to run these clubs as Republicans. They are offering them about $2,000 to keep these issues from their families. So what are we talking about with sexual assault awareness? Because I have somebody here who's been fighting for these kids for 8 years and is being threatened by those in office as well as those in law enforcement. So again, I'm tired of these political narratives. I have no problem sharing the truth. Not a single one of you up there really cares about this awareness because you'd be joining me regardless of politics in addressing these issues. Thank you and God bless. Please find God. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Diana Olivares, followed by Bernice Espinosa.
Hi, Superintendent and Board. I've spoke on this item before, but the resolutions for everything under the sun that this board continuously does is really frustrating. Last meeting, it was declare school librarian month, but you're firing all the librarians. It's virtue signaling, it's gaslighting, and I believe that you're just following status quo of the California School Board Association, because every time you guys have something on your agenda, it mimics the California School Board Association and what they advertise and advocate for you all to put on your agenda. But I would really, I almost beg you that every time you have a resolution, it doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, it just doesn't matter because once in a while you put something in the resolution that makes us feel like you really do care about the resolution, but most of the time, the majority of the time, it doesn't matter. And so this is the political theater that we're constantly seeing. It's like, if you really care, what are you doing? Are you might be, I haven't even read the resolution yet, but maybe you're dealing with nonprofits and you're allowing them on your campuses and you're doing some sexual abuse awareness. That's fine and dandy, but are you really overseeing it? Are you really overseeing that that company or people or person or nonprofit are doing our kids right? Are you overseeing what they're doing, what they're teaching, and what they're advocating for? Are you doing your due diligence? And I unfortunately don't have much trust in many of you, and I don't trust that you are. So get some real resolutions and some real change on these agenda items.
Thank you. Next, I have Bernice Espinosa.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the board for having this resolution and having this discussion as a survivor of sexual violence, who did not express my sexual violence until I was asked to write a biography in my 11th grade English class. And at that time, there was a lot of stigma out of concern from my parents. My parents were concerned that people knowing whether or not I had been sexually violated, that others would do it as well. And it wasn't until I was in college where we had a Take Back the Night event that removed the stigma and allowed for people to have voice. And to the gentleman who spoke about the arts, it is thanks to the arts that I've had the therapy before I was ever diagnosed with my PTSD. It's the arts that help the prevention of these things. And I hope that we can do curricula or rallies that can be able to express the awareness, incorporate the arts, give therapy to our youth who are survivors so that they don't feel alone, isolated, and unable to communicate their experiences. And so thank you for taking the first steps. And I would love to help and support in seeing how that resolution can build a program for students to be able to have voice, and in whatever way that is, whether that's with their counselors, with their arts, or other programs. Thank you.
Thank you. It now comes back to the board. Any comments? Trustee De La Cruz and Trustee Manieri?
This is my repeating comment to make sure that our resolutions are not empty words, but that they are accompanied with curriculum and resources that are provided to every school site, to every administrator, to every educator, to every counselor, and ultimately to every child in our system. I don't see that in this resolution. I do see a lot of really critical information and data that we should all be familiar with, and so I'm really grateful for the depth of the information that's provided in the staff report, but I don't see the corresponding kind of connection to the ways in which this will be disseminated throughout our school systems. With that said, I also recognize how critical it is for us to lift up this conversation from a policy level and to make sure that our system as a whole hears how critical we believe it is to begin the conversation. And so I just, again, reiterating the need for us to have with every resolution, a corresponding implementation plan to make sure that our words are actually put into action. And with that, I'd like to move to adopt the resolution in recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I thank all of the brave people here tonight. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for kicking us off with such bravery and with so much cariño for your community, and really leading this conversation for our district and showing, so many people how to own your history with love for yourself and with healings. I just really, really thankful for your leadership tonight, and thank you to so many of our community members who came and showed that same bravery and leadership and love for themselves and for our community as a whole.
Thank you. Could you remake your motion?
And I move to approve the resolution in recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
And moved. Is there a second? Moved by Trustee De La Cruz, seconded by Trustee Sheffield. I have comment by Trustee Manieri.
I just wanted to elevate quickly the resource that is available in the resolution. Verity is a really great organization that offers a lot of resources, not just to survivors of sexual violence, but also their families and people who love them. This is definitely a topic that touches our students, our families, everyone in our school community. And so it's definitely something that we need to be talking about, and these resolutions are critical to elevate the importance of this conversation. So just again wanted to highlight Verity as Sonoma County's only organization that's really leading the way to prevent sexual violence in our community.
Any other comments? Trustee De La Torre.
Just really want to add a voice to ensuring we are adding the teeth to this resolution to make sure that education is possible throughout our district and throughout our communities. And we talk about bringing the facts to light to remove all stigma from victimization through these assaults. And that also includes wrongful accusations of sexual assaults that could be just as damaging, to ensure students have a true understanding of the perils of this narrative, and they have the strength and the courage to speak up when something has happened to them or a friend, so they can reach the resources necessary to find the healing that will be needed.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's go to the vote.
Student Board Member Rao.
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
Trustee Flores.
Aye. Aye.
President Medina.
Aye. Thank you. We'll now move on to item F2, resolution celebrating Child Nutrition Services Professionals Week of April 29th through May 3rd. Mr. Burke.
Chat with you about how wonderful our staff are. It is really one of the best parts of my year is when we all get together for training and really just spend time with each other. They are hands down some of the best professionals I've ever worked with. They are committed. They are your families. They are your parents. They are your friends and neighbors. They know kids by name. I was chatting with a staff member and I said, hey, I recognize that one of your students at another school. And they ran through a list of 4 students before they said like, oh yeah, I know exactly who that is. And I know exactly what they're doing and how they're doing now. Thank you for letting me know. And then they contacted the staff member at the other school and said, by the way, this is my friend so-and-so, and let him know that I'm thinking about him. And that was such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And so with that, I would say that we have some of the best professionals in the child nutrition game. I'm so excited to be working with them. They are an inspiration. They are a joy to work with. And most importantly of all, they are committed to the success of our students. When I go to school sites, when I'm covering absences, they ask about our staff by name. Where's Mr. Dennis? Is Mr. Dennis out okay? Like, he's doing great. He'll be back tomorrow. Okay. And who are you? And I was like, well, I'm Ed. And they're like, we'll see if you're back here tomorrow, Ed. That's valid. So hands down, I want to say once again that our staff are absolutely the best, and we have the deepest appreciation of them and what they do. And I would also like to encourage us to identify our staff members by name. One of the best things that I hear on the radio is like, hey, can we check in with Miss Rosalba, please? And I'm like, heck yeah, that's my jam. We are recognizing folks by name. One of the my more common names is the lunch man or the lunch guy, and it's like valid. That's where I am. I'm in the cafeteria. And so I love that our staff are building relationships, even if they only have seconds with each student as they pass through the line, they're still managing to forge really meaningful connections. And it's for those reasons that I am deeply grateful to them, and I would love this opportunity to recognize them formally. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Board, any questions as it relates to this resolution? None. We don't have any public comment cards, so it comes back to the board for a motion.
I move to approve the resolution celebrating Child Nutrition Services Professionals Week of April 29th through May 3rd, 2024.
Moved by trustee Manieri, seconded by trustee Flores. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to the vote.
Student Board Member Rao. Aye. Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
Trustee Flores.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz. Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
President Medina.
Aye. Thank you. Now we will move on to item F3. This is a discussion item. It's an update on Child Nutrition Services Department.
Thank you, President Medina, Superintendent Trinnell, members of the board, and our Santa Rosa City Schools community. Thank you so much for the opportunity this evening for our Director of Child Nutrition Services, Ed Burke, to share the amazing things that are going on and his exciting plans for the future.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And once again, I'm so eager to share with you everything that our friends at CNS are up to. I will say just a caveat, I tend to overtalk. And in the interest of brevity, you may see that I'm sticking to highlights. I can and I will spend days on each of these topics, particularly infrastructure. I once found myself having a 3-hour discussion about the effect of proofing without humidity controls. I mean, we could do this for days. So for the interest of brevity, I'm going to keep it at highlights, but I welcome your questions and feedback and additional solicitations for information. So with Child Nutrition Services, there are 3 primary components that define a great program. It's great food, great service, and nutrition education. In service of those goals to get us to where we want to be, because there is some distance to where we need to be. There are 5 things that we're focusing on right now. There are an additional 5 that we'll work on next when these conditions have been met. So let's focus in on staffing, scratch cooking, infrastructure, nutrition education, and local procurement. What's wonderful about these is that we can pursue some of these to extent simultaneously. I can do local procurement while I'm working on staffing. I can work on infrastructure while we're doing nutrition education. And all of them come together at our final meeting point to get to a really delightful place. So once again, I want to share my appreciation for the wonderful staff that we have. We have been super fortunate this past year. We've had it on 5 new staff members, an attempt to hire model using temporary workers transitioning into permanent roles, which has been awesome. We have transitioned 2 internal candidates to leadership positions that, initially they were a little reluctant. Like, well, what if I'm not good enough, Ed? And I was like, what if you're amazing? Let's do it. And they have been doing such great work. We are so pleased to have them. Our current focus right now is building a cook-chill team so that we can start transitioning to more scratch cooking. I have dreams and visions of all the foods that I'd like to eat and I'd like to eat at school, and we have to add staffing to get to that place. We are also doing a lot of training. One of my highlights of my year is when we get together and we train. We had a wonderful knife skills training that got really competitive. And candidly, I think I placed like number 4 out of my team as a trainer, which is probably the greatest feeling of all, that your staff can exceed you and do much better than you at a topic that you are in fact an expert on. So it's been absolutely wonderful this year with our staffing. And we continue to add to our team as time goes on. Next up is scratch cooking, and this is a screenshot of our Asana project. We use this as a visual tool to track our progress. We also, as you can see, use memes. In every conversation, I try to work in hummus, and this was just my very clever way of doing so. So with scratch cooking, we find that the food that we make from scratch is the most joyful food that we have. When I'm out at schools, this is a product that our staff made with love, care, and attention, and you can taste that. And not knocking hot dogs from Kansas, but that love, care, and affection isn't there in a processed product that's made so far away from us. I would like to share a really fun story. We prepared a turkey tinga. If you've never had the pleasure, it's delightful. And at this school site I was at, because I was covering a vacancy, students were unfamiliar. We had a really great exchange. They said, "What is it?" I was like, "This is a stewed turkey with a tomato sauce. It is delightful. It's got a little bit of chiles, but most importantly, it's not hot." Students were initially kind of reluctant, like, "Hey, I don't know if I'm gonna like this." And I was like, "You know what? That's a really great point. We're gonna follow up on it in a little bit." We offered it. Students had it. They came back. They loved it. And they asked, "When are we going to do it again?" And I was like, "Well, I need to add some staff and infrastructure to make this happen more often. But yeah, we're going to make this work." In my additional notes in our board agenda, you'll also find some really fun anecdotes. I got a little bit roasted that day because the kid was giving me a hard time. But they also came back for seconds. So I was like, all right, this is a win. There are some limitations, as we talked about. So for example, I am stuck on menu planning evaluation for hummus because I lack the massive blender that I need to make gallons of hummus at a go. For context, I have broken 3 blenders trying to make hummus, one of them spectacularly so. So we're looking at buying some really hefty, very powerful equipment that will enable us to accomplish all of our dreams. And also we have staff. We need to get staff on board and comfortable with making product in the hundreds of pounds of product at a time and transitioning from volume to weights and all kinds of other fun stuff. But I will say that's one of the more fun things that we get to do. Transitioning into infrastructure. We are planning to spend $1 million in capital equipment. This is equipment over $5,000. This is really big buys. We are going to be buying a blast chiller, which greatly exceeds, and again, keeping it brief, which greatly exceeds the national standards. So national standards, you got to cool food within 6 hours. This machine will do it in 90 minutes. It is amazing. It has some really cool features, which will enable us to buy peak seasonality fruits and vegetables and then freeze them with very minimal crystallization, which is awesome. We're buying new trucks because our trucks are 20 years old, falling apart, and candidly a little bit unsafe. We are purchasing new kettles so we can better utilize our processes and our energy, literally. We also have a commitment to reducing the amount of plastic that's in our schools. We just had a wonderful discussion that needs to be validated about one of the biggest barriers that we have regarding plastic wrap at our elementary schools. So I'm super excited to explore that with our regulatory agencies, and I'll circle back to that in just a moment as well. But really, like, the infrastructure is the non-person barriers that we have to do the work that we need to do. And so school sites are a particular focus. Some of our schools have much older kitchens, much older kitchen designs that really can't keep up with the work that we need to do. So we're really grateful for this opportunity in the bond measure to renovate those school kitchens, because that becomes the bottleneck that we plan our entire menu around. So, and the other bit I want to share with you is that can't wait, won't wait. We will not wait for a bond measure to come through with a perfect solution. There's something we need to do now because kids need this now, and I need scratch kicking now. So we will take steps that we can to make things much better immediately. One of my biggest and favorite things, we held a nutrition education event at Hidden Valley Elementary School with Boys and Girls Club, trying esquites for the first time and talking about how cotija cheese is from Cotija region of Mexico. Parmesan is from the Parma region of Italy, and how they both have strong flavors, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're unsafe or scary or spicy. So we had a wonderful opportunity here. So as you can see today, they voted kind of an even spread. A lot of kids loved it, some kids didn't like it, and that was totally cool. What was really great about this is that we had a discussion, we called it no thank you, which is like you tried something, you don't like it. How do you get this thing out of your mouth as fast as you can without being discourteous? In that same vein, we told a couple of jokes and I got roasted again in the most wonderful way. I asked when a joke becomes a dad joke, and a student responded, when it gets old. And I was like, all right, fair, moving on. So we, as you notice in this, we also have some compostable bamboo spoons, which ties into our sustainability efforts. We currently have plastic wrapped sporks. Sporks are spoons and forks, and they don't do either very well. So we're thinking, let's level up our game. Students really enjoyed those spoons. They're enormous, they're easy to manage, and of course, they're compostable. We found that there was an immediate effect once we did this transition. We had students coming in the next day, Ed, when's the esquites? When are the esquites? When are the esquites? They got their friends hyped about it. I now have an immense amount of pressure to perform and to put esquites out in the menu more often. We also found that fruits and vegetable consumption went up tremendously immediately following it because we had a chat about eating colors and eating rainbows to get all of the nutrients that you need. And more than that is that we had students championing these things to their friends. They're like, bro, just make a triangle and spit it out, drink some water, it'll be fine. I was like, you know what? Yes. That same student has now, is world champion at eating kiwis with the skin on because he realized that that was an okay thing for us to do after a conversation with us. It's been tremendous, absolutely tremendous. So in partnership with parents, we have created an opportunity to address fear of new foods and making it safe to try new things, particularly conflation of strong flavors and spicing and heat levels has been a concern at this school in particular that we're able to address. That hey, it looks red, but also let's evaluate it for spiciness. We found that with explicit direct instruction, we are able to include what our menu planner's intent is. So for example, I'm offering tahini. I would love for you to put that tahini on your fruit. Please don't drink the whole pack, don't take the whole packet by itself. That's just not what I intended. So a simple addition is like, hey, we're gonna have pupusas, but put the curtido on the pupusa and your fork, and now you have a truly transcendent dish. Where a pupusa is great, curtido is pretty good, but those things together are amazing. And so last but not least, I would love to call for some collaborations at schools. What we're doing at Hidden Valley with Boys and Girls Club is absolutely scalable, and I have every intention of taking it to every school and reaching out to every single kid on our school campuses so that they feel safe, they're trying new things, and most importantly, they like eating kiwi with the skin on. So moving on, next up, we have local procurement and collaborations, really exciting stuff. We are working with 4 partners, Shared Plates, California Wheat Commission, Feed Sonoma, and Earthseed Farms on a CDFA grant. We are getting benefits from that, but we are not spending anything on it, which is tremendous. We are including a dramatic increase in our local procurement, and our collaborations have, again, like we talked about with infrastructure, because of a collaboration, we had a problem of practice. How do I wash dishes at a school site that doesn't have a dishwashing sink appropriately? And we've had a really wonderful discussion that changes the dynamic completely because we have an interdisciplinary approach. And so we're deeply appreciative of those collaborations. And last but not least, thank you. Any questions or comments that we'd like to add on?
How about we have one public comment. How about we do that first and then we'll come back. I have a public comment from Micah Carlin Goldberg. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. I'm glad that this is being discussed. I wonder, however, when it is we're going to talk to more of the students. I love that you talk to some students at Hidden Valley, but at Steel Lane, half of my 6th graders never eat the lunch. If you ask students an open-ended question of what is one thing you would want to change at school, more than half of them say the food. I eat the food somewhat regularly because I want to try what's there. Yesterday, it was a pulled pork burrito, which wasn't bad, except for where the tortilla had hardened because it had been heated too much, right? We can prep it all we want, but unless we get it to the to the school and heated and on the kid's plate in a way that they're going to eat it, it's not worth it, right? The kids are so used to the food sucking that they won't even try it anymore, right? Education is part of it, yes, but we have to just do better. I mean, also, like, we had a lunch person who was Miss Pam, who was with us for, I think, almost a decade. And this year, she was moved to another school site and replaced by 2 halftime people. So we have a different person in the morning and in the afternoon. They don't have a good rapport with the students because they're new. I'm not sure why that staffing decision was made to take somebody who'd been with our site for a very, very long time and move them to some other site with no reasonable explanation given. I mean, yes, we need the kids to eat the food. Maybe we should actually listen to them. I challenged our food service people to come to Steel Lane and James Monroe and all of the schools and eat lunch at our schools with our kids every single day for a month and see what they actually have to say about the food rather than just doing a study after school with 12 kids, right? 40% of those spoons were in the I don't like it. That's not an even distribution. 40% I don't like it versus 60% I love it and I do like it is not an even distribution, right? So come to our schools, sit with our kids, eat the food with them, ask them why they won't eat it. That's what we need to do. Come during lunch to the real food that they really
Thank
get
you,
and eat it
Micah.
with them.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now comes back to the board for questions. Trustee Sheffield? Oh, wait. Go ahead.
Cards are outside. Listen to more. I also wanted to encourage some of the board members to come. I know you guys are assigned to specific sites. Come and eat. I also regularly eat the meals at school. Thank you, Ed. I've seen him at our site before. I feel like a lot of the food can be fresh made. It is fresh made. I've met with the cafeteria ladies. I know them by name. I know they prepare the food, but I would also like for the futurization and for the modernization of it, for us to continue to put work and effort into this, because this is really important. We feed them 2 meals a day. As a child of a single mother, this was my meals. This is my comfort. This is why I still eat it as an adult, because this was my safe space. This is the food that I had. This is really important for the children, and also into consideration of how we're going to provide food services while we're doing the modernization. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lucinda, do you mind filling out one of the blue cards and just turning it in for us? Thank you. Now back to the board. Trustee Sheffield.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Ed, for the presentation. I like the bullet points because that's kind of where my notes were. So I'm just going to go down the list. I'm going to begin with your first bullet point, the staffing. And I'm wondering, where do we recruit our staff, our central kitchen staff? We have new hires. Where are they coming from?
So we have been super successful working with a temp agency with a temp to hire model. Temp workers, and the agreement that we have is that the maximum amount of temp workers matches with the open positions on EdJoin. It is our most ardent wish that people become permanent positions, because permanent employees are permanent solutions to these staffing problems that we have. And furthermore, we have found that when folks do this, they also have friends and neighbors that they make references to. And we very quickly will say, like, hey, my friend so-and-so is applying. Please consider interviewing them as well, which has been super helpful because we now have much more applicants on our EdJoin portal than we have historically at any given time, which is wonderful. And it's been an absolute blessing to us.
Do we ever see former students or students that are coming from SRJC Culinary? Or?
Yeah, we have a couple of students that have joined us from our transition class at Ridgeway that came on with us full time. It's one of the greatest pleasures is to see them interacting with other transition students and letting them know, like, hey, I graduated, this is how things are going. And then providing some really concrete life examples of, like, hey, once the program is over, this is something to think about or a resource to utilize, which has been really wonderful. We are having some conversations with other community partners about transitions into particularly our cook chill team, leadership positions, or other positions that might require it. I think that one of the interesting things that we could do is work with other community-based partnerships. There are pathways and apprenticeships that we can get in on. Once we have the stability now where our leadership team is not going out to school sites, for example, to cover absences, where we can visit school sites, eat the food, and also provide mentorship and leadership for apprentices, which could lead to further pathways and development for our cook chill team.
Okay, second question, second bullet point, the from scratch foods. And you brought up a really good point about the food served in plastic. I know, days after the pandemic, we had certain safety protocols, but, a lot of these protocols around packaging has been lifted. I had heard from a couple of constituents, one of them had talked about scratch cooked foods, meals are pointless if the items are served in plastic. You had talked about reducing the waste. I was on the Monty campus a few weeks ago, and I was headed back to my car, and I ended up spending about 20 minutes just picking up the little plastic wrappers that are everywhere. Whether they go in the garbage or not, they end up blowing on a stormy day. That's exactly what happened. I chased them around the parking lot. I applaud the push for from scratch foods and the acknowledgement that we can do more about reducing the waste. I would like to see us do that, and that rolls into the next bullet point, which is the investing in the infrastructure. Is there a need? What is that need? What can we do to help you with these from scratch foods, the preparation, the delivery that would reduce the waste?
That is a great question. One of the interesting bits about infrastructure is it requires an intense amount of planning. So for example, I was having a conversation about the minutia of, say, lift gates. So this lift gate works better in this application, this does that. And that's one part of one truck that requires a lot of planning and forethought about the next 10, 15 years of its use. So for example, that blast chiller, it really was something that we had to spend an intense amount of time with. We could very quickly arrive to a conclusion of just, hey, give me a blast chiller, but then we found that there were blast chillers that were so much better than others. And so once there are procedural steps with procurement. We have to go out to bid, we have to make competitive, we also have to meet other requirements in a regulatory sense. Do we have a plan check? Do we have a discussion with the Department of State architect if that's necessary? So there are some procedural steps that really are our biggest barrier there. We have the funding. We have an amazing facilities team that provides support. So I think at this point, the thing that we're looking for is resolving problems of practice. And that's a conversation with regulatory agencies. So for example, warewashing at, say, and I love the example of Steel Lane because they have a much older kitchen. And how do we, with the space that we have, with the equipment that we have today, how do we get to those outcomes that we want? And to that regard about plastic wrap, I agree completely. I think that when you have an amazing product and it's entombed in plastic, it's not going to cook the way it was intended to. It's not going to hold up the way it's intended to. I had a really wonderful conversation about packaged hamburgers and how the meat is dry, but the buns are wet. And that's really just a deeply unpleasant experience. So even if we made like a beautiful hamburger patty and beautiful buns, once it goes into that plastic, the quality drops dramatically. And so the infrastructure bit is absolutely a focus for us because those are the things that we can work through what we have now, plus with the vision for the bond renovations to further improve in a more permanent sense.
Well, and that contributes to not just the waste in the material, but the waste, the food waste as well, because if it's not appealing, it's going in the garbage. And that's what I see a lot of as well. Tied to from scratch foods, discussion around supporting locally procured foods and partnerships with local growers. Who are these partnerships or who are we working on? The specifics.
Great question. So we're partnering with a group called Shared Plates. They are grant funded and they are connecting us with local growers. So for example, we had a wonderful mixer at Feed Sonoma. We met a couple of local growers, one of whom presented a problem of practice where they have what's called seconds.
Yeah.
So these are fruits that are not uniform in shape. They might have discolorations or otherwise they don't have a market for. And the clarifying statement is that these are perfectly good apples that otherwise get thrown away, composted, or donated to local growers, namely pigs. And there's a question of like, okay, well, if it's fit for human consumption, if it's good, then let's provide an outlet for that. Because there are places where we could use apples. There are conversations that we can have. I had a beautiful conversation with students about oranges that had scarring on them. And students were like, well, I think this is mold. And I was like, you know what? This is a great science opportunity. Let's evaluate this. Is this mold? But most importantly, if you don't feel safe, if it doesn't feel right, if you're not entirely sure this is the best thing you're going to put in your mouth, then let's not do it. Let's just compost it. Let's get another one. And likewise, in our conversations with partners, we've clarified like these are small children. They are going to have concerns and questions if this doesn't look like something that's at the grocery store. So can we get some farmers to come through, provide some education opportunities to discuss why seconds are something that is appealing and wonderful. Furthermore, we have a relationship with Feed Sonoma. So that is an aggregator, they're countywide. So through Feed Sonoma, we'll be able to buy product throughout the county, which is also super helpful because working with individual growers who may not have experience working with public agencies, the process of getting a PO or paying from a PO might be kind of daunting, where Feed Sonoma would be our middle person, and that's going to be tremendous. We're also working with Earthseed Farms. We've worked with them for a couple of years. They are a fantastic agency. And if you ever had the opportunity, they are working on biodynamic Afro-Indigenous agricultural practices. And I'd say, practically speaking, their Asian pears have improved year after year, and they are absolutely delicious. And kids are looking forward to them when they're in season. They're like, these are the good pears. And I was like, yeah, exactly. They're just down the road from Sebastopol. Furthermore, we're working with Tri-L Ranch. They do mandarin oranges, and they're doing fantastic work there. We're also partnering with AgLink, which is an aggregator based out of the Fresno County. They buy local growers, and they send it to us as well. And as we transition on, and especially into scratch food, there's an opportunity for us to buy local wheat. So there are some really amazing growers here in the area. If you've ever had the pleasure of Yacora Roja, I've highly recommend it. It's a native California wheat. It tastes amazing. It's a little nutty, got kind of a peppery sense to it. But using that in place of, say, a frozen muffin would be transcendent. And furthermore, we're having a conversation with some of our friends down south and a little bit farther east about where they're getting their locally procured beef and chicken. So we have Mary's Farms that we're having conversations with. We're also having conversations, and we're going to take a tour later this month with Cream Co., which provides beef to schools. So there's some opportunity there to get into some less traditional routes for farm to school, but also still valid, still necessary. We're going to be buying beef. Let's buy beef from California. We're going to be buying wheat. Let's buy wheat from California. And there are some amazing mills here in the area as well that we'd love to partner with. But again, that's me going out into the nerding out a bit. So absolutely, we will have updates regularly as we add new partners or adding new services from locally procured, from local procurement.
I would just love to find a way where we can promote these partners. And as you pointed out, maybe opportunities to have them come to our schools and talk about the work that they do. I was reminding me as you were speaking about, I had heard this interesting radio program about baby carrots, right? The little baby carrots that you get in the store and you wonder, those are seconds. A person invented a machine to just shave them down and make them look pretty because the stores are rejecting them. The consumer is rejecting them because they don't look like carrots. I'm a gardener. We pull carrots out of our garden. They don't look like, those perfect carrots that, TV carrots, right? They don't look like that, but, we eat them anyway. But having that, explaining that, talking to students about that, another way to, encourage kids, our product, to consume your product, right? And which brings me to my last point, which is the student feedback. I am interested in hearing about how we survey what is the feedback loop, how can we engage our students more. My kids have their favorites. They have the food that they won't touch. I know that's the case with all kids in school meals, but we do hear a lot on the feedback from the students on some of the foods. So.
Absolutely. Feedback loops are the heart of our menu planning process. If we are making a product that is universally disliked, then that's really like, what is our purpose? What are we doing except perpetuating more inequality and inequity in our schools? So we go out and we have conversations, we solicit feedback from staff who, again, will let us know like, hey, this product is terrible. And then we evaluate it, like, why is that the case? So for example, there was a pulled pork sandwich, which was not going over very well. And we determined that we were getting a USDA commodity product and it just wasn't very good. So we're like, okay, it's not that students don't want pulled pork, it's rather that this pulled pork product that we're buying from the USDA just isn't meeting our needs. And that again brings us back to scratch cooking, where we could make a better pulled pork. We can do that if we have the staffing and infrastructure available to facilitate that at schools. And so that's been the area of focus for us, is taking products. For example, I had a student today who was very upset that we weren't serving muffins. And I said, yeah, I hear you. Like, muffins are wonderful and sweet, but just, you know, the thing I'm looking forward to is the day that I can bring you my muffins, the muffins that we made that have a nice crust that shatters when you break into it, as opposed to the frozen muffins that have a hygroscopic layer of sugar, water. Yeah, exactly. And so there are tremendous opportunities for us to do so. One of the best things that I enjoy doing is going out to school sites and eating lunch with students or just chatting with them in the line, because they'll let you know immediately, like, this is a hit, this is not a hit, and then we'll have a conversation. So for example, we're doing a trial run at one of our schools right now in baking things without plastic, because I need to put together, challenge some assumptions on how long that's going to take, what impact that has on staff. And what I found interesting was students were reaching for stuff that was still in plastic. And I said, hey, like, this is not in plastic, this is in plastic. Walk me through this decision. And they were just like, well, I don't know what this new thing is. And I'm a little bit weirded out. And I was like, makes sense. Like, this is the same product, just without plastic. And what happens is when you bake it, it puffs up as it should. And this is the kind of education that's happening. And once we had that explanation in place, students were reaching for the non-plastic item or the non-encased item. And that was such a tremendous shift in what was happening and what wasn't happening. And so the only way to get that data is to be out at schools and doing that work with students and just asking. But also, I would point out, there's an adage in child nutrition programs that the most objective feedback you can get is your trash cans. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, I'm at a school site and I asked our custodian, how heavy are your trash cans? He's like, they're really heavy. Yeah, that's a real problem. When we had this nutrition education take place, we asked him today, hey, how was the trash today? He was like, this is the lightest it's ever been. And I was like, okay, so we're eating, which is good. Fruits and vegetables, which add the most weight to any trash can because they're so large. And so we find that going out school sites is the best way to do it. Another thing that we're looking to do is to recruit school site champions. So folks that feel strongly, and I'm so thrilled that we have some folks here today that are eating school lunch. I would love to connect with you afterwards and talk about being school site champions. Give me a feedback, hit me up. I have a group chat going right now through text messaging of like, this is working, this is not working. And then we're having discussions about why that's happening. So is it that we were hoping for muffins and now we're upset? Or is it that it's, as we said earlier, the burrito was hard and that's not what we intended? And there's a tremendous amount of depth of data that we can dig into when we have partners that can give us real-time data and articulate like, this isn't working. Likewise, I would love to recruit students to do that as well, because students can articulate like why I don't like this or why I do. And that's incredibly helpful to us. Because again, like in the case of that pulled pork, it wasn't that pulled pork as an idea is flawed, but rather that product that went into that pulled pork was flawed. It was not very good. And therefore, there's an objectively straightforward way for us to move forward with meeting those needs. So yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the challenges, and we've chatted about this with parent partners, is getting started, is building relationships, is getting to a place where people can feel comfortable and say, and send me a text, Ed, this sucks and I hate it. What are you going to do about it? And that is,
Well, you go to Trader Joe's and they have a new product and they're sampling it out, right? They get a pretty good gauge about who's coming in line, who's coming back in line. You know what I mean? And I just think we could do that. It's a way of serving students, with the actual product. Here's what we have. Here's what you might see, on the menu next month. What do you think? What are your thoughts? If you see a lot of that go in the garbage, you're saving yourself a lot of time,
absolutely. One of the things that we take into account as well is what we call the Pepsi challenge dilemma, So if you are presenting a product outside of its typical conditions, if, for example, if I came to your school site and we had like loud music and we're getting really excited and we're like, yeah, guys, give me a big yeah. That's not the conditions of your cafeteria. That's not the collection of data that we want. So what we find is super helpful is by having small groups where we can normalize it. Students can say like, I know what that is. And then taking it into our cafeteria to see how it performs from there. So for example, we've offered a couple of products where students were reluctant to try it. They tried it, they came back, and then they were championing it to their friends. And that also kind of changed the dynamic a little bit as well, because they're like, hey, this is okay, this tastes great. And tahini is not spicy. And I was like, that's a huge relief to all of us. Like, please continue to tell us those stories. But yeah, and so what I envision is that we're going to be out at school sites doing things with an introduction of what it is, an introduction of what to do if you don't like it, because I could see that being a huge barrier. If we have a food in our mouth we don't want, what do we do with it? But once that instruction is in place and we've normalized it, we can absolutely do taste testings in our serving lines so that you're going to get it from the same place. You're going to be receiving it with the same amount of conditions that you would have during a regular serving line. But yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. You get two Eds talking, you guys, and we can just dominate. It's-
So just reading your follow-up, I just can't believe kids think that curtido is spicy, by the way, because I don't like spicy foods. So, but anyway, in terms of funding, you mentioned that, we are participating in the universal free meals, right? And then you also mentioned that we have one-time grants funding. So what does that mean? Does that mean it ends at the end of this fiscal year? And what are we doing about making sure that we are applying for more grant sources or more funding sources to ensure that we do have a robust meal program?
Yeah, I love that question. So historically, funding has been a challenge for our program, but universal free meals has really changed that. The way I explain it to our staff is that we get funded for meals that we sell. So the more meals that we sell, the more money we get from the state, which is wonderful. To that point about plastic, for example, I'll go on a tangent and come back. When we removed plastic, participation went up kind of a lot in very, very brief period of time. So there's that financial incentive as well. We're serving more meals. It's a better food product. It is a restaurant. And if you are meeting your clients' needs, people will show up and they'll participate. What I enjoy about the one-time funding that we're getting is that it is specifically focused in several different areas. So there are about 6 different grants that we have that we're managing pretty well. Some of them are focused on training. Some of them are focused on infrastructure and equipment. We're spending all of those as soon as we get them. We have bookmarked a lot of this $1 million that we're investing. That is entirely funded by grants, which is exciting because it leaves us with a really healthy reserve to further invest in our programs. We have grant funding for purchasing locally procured products from California that are minimally processed. So these partnerships that they're starting with Feed Sonoma, with Earthseed Farms and other vendors, can also be funded from grants. And then we will continue to sustain them once we transition off of those grants.
Wait, what do you mean by that, by sustaining? I mean, is that from our general fund?
No, so cafeteria fund, I love that question in particular. Please.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So I'll just go ahead and talk about a little bit as we have before the restricted nature of some of our funds. So specifically, all of the nutrition funds, so all of those sales, the revenues that we're receiving go into Fund 13, which is completely separate from our general fund. And it is self-sustaining and supporting. That was not always the case in the past. That is where the universal free meals has really, as Ed was trying to, had shared, that's really been what the operating costs are. Those funds cannot be used for general fund expenses. So now where previously the general fund supported nutrition, now nutrition is completely self-supporting. And the reserve is specific to Fund 13, not to the general fund reserve.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions, Trustee De La Cruz?
Just wanted to note how ironic it is that I'm eating candy while talking about good food for our kids, and I invite you to bring healthier snack for our board members. I know, I'm like, so that we can stay awake for these really important conversations. I love the idea of coming for lunches to school, so thank you, Lucinda, for making that invitation and for joining in the experiences of the kids that definitely have this on the top of their lists for the things that are important to them. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. If another board members have questions, I do. I think it was about a week ago, I was in a leadership class talking about my experience when I was in leadership. And one of the things that we did was meet with CNS and provide input and chose what was served. We probably didn't make the best choices. We had McDonald's, Taco Bell, Carl's Jr., not the best of choices. But I'm wondering if we've engaged in anything like that, that is kind of structural, or if maybe we could look into that?
I think that is a great idea. I think that we can have conversations. There's a really wonderful program that the California School Nutrition Association has called Student Advisory Councils, which is fantastic. They also have programs where you can go to their conference with students and then engage in other activities and also try foods. So for example, the first exposure I had to tahine was with a group from a student advisory council. And there were, every student there was like, I know exactly what this is and I'm all about it. And I was like, okay, but like, please tell me what this is and how can I get it? So we can absolutely do that. And I think that, again, working with school site partners and champions, we could have some really structured input from students, but also like have opportunities for enrichment and nutrition education as well.
Another thing that I've seen um, during lunch, a lot of students meet for clubs and things of that nature. And what I've seen as I've gone to meetings is that many of the students just choose not to eat so that they could go to the club. And I think, well, they should be nourished, right? And so I'm wondering if we've ever looked at maybe some sort of solution where students or clubs could kind of, I don't know, get catered during their meetings so that the students don't have to decide from eating or extracurricular activities.
That is a fantastic idea. I'd be happy to chat with some clubs and determine what their needs are and what their abilities are. We would want to have a lot of input from the club advisor in particular about what they're comfortable with their given circumstances. But yeah, I think that's something we could absolutely look into. Access to food is absolutely vital.
And I think the only other big thing that I've seen that's an issue is so many students at the secondary level leaving campus and coming back campus because they're going to, I see them coming back with In-N-Out, with McDonald's, with Starbucks, different things. I don't know. What can we do? Is it, I don't know if we have a grasp on how big of an issue it is, any of the adverse impacts. Is it the food? I think asking those questions and seeing, what we can do and how we could do better to make sure that doesn't happen, because ultimately we are responsible for the students during that period of time.
And President Medina, all of our campuses are closed. So
I
that
know.
isn't supposed to be happening. And it's hard to, right, it's not on ed. That really is a supervision situation. And we're not going to have staff standing in front of cars when kids want to leave campus. So it's a bigger issue that we need to talk about.
That's it. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. We will now move on to our next item, item F4. This is a public hearing. So I'm now calling the public hearing, the Center City Schools District Sunshine Proposals for Contract Reopeners with the California School Employees Association for 2024 to 2027. Opening it up. Is there any comments on this? Any comments on this item? No? Okay. No comments on this, so I will now close the public hearing. Now we'll move on to item F5. This is an action item. Approval of Santa Rosa City School District Sunshine Proposals for Contract Reopeners with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 75. And
Okay, thank you, President Medina, Superintendent Chanel, members of the board, members of the public. I am here tonight to ask for your approval on the openers for our contract negotiations with CSEA Chapter 75 for the 2024-2027 school year. We are bringing to you tonight our desire to open the following articles. Article 3, District Rights. Article 4, Grievance Procedures. Article 7, Evaluation Procedures. Article 8, Transfers. Article 9, Safety. Article 10, Leaves. Article 11, Vacation Leaves. Article 12, Holidays. Article 13, Compensation. Article 14, Pay and Allowance. Article 16, Layoff, Reemployment, and Contracting Out Bargaining Unit Work. And Article 17, Miscellaneous Provisions.
thank you. Board, any questions? Seeing none, do we have any public comments? No?
No public comment.
Okay, no public comments. Okay, it comes back to the board for a motion or discussion.
I moved for approval of the Santa Rosa City Schools District Sunshine Proposal for contract reopeners with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 75 for the 2024-27 school year.
A second.
That's moved by trustee Flores, seconded by trustee De La Cruz. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to the vote.
Trustee Flores.
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
President Medina.
Aye. Thank you. We will now move on to G, consent items. If I could get a motion for items G1 to 2 and 4 to 10.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee De La Cruz, seconded by trustee Sheffield. Let's go to the vote.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
Trustee Flores.
Aye.
President Medina.
Aye. Now we'll move on to item G3, approval of vendor warrants. I'll give you the floor, trustee De La Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you so much, President Medina. I wanted to pull this to provide a little bit of background and some thinking on my action during a meeting a couple of meetings ago. It happened right at the very tail end of the meeting. The timing was really unfortunate and didn't really provide us an opportunity as a board to daylight for our community some of the thinking around the reasons why this was an issue for us, or for me. I'll speak for myself. And I first want to say that I want to make sure that our community understands that I did that with the utmost respect and recognition of the authority of the superintendent to enter into contracts as needed to ensure positive and safe operations of our school campuses. So, and I just, want to make sure that our community hears that. I'm saying that to you and that was not intended in any way to kind of upset recognition of your authority and of your, our very clear delegation of that authority to you with a lot of respect. The reason why I pulled this warrant was for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I'm a very strong union supporter. I come from a labor family. And police officers are public servants. They receive a salary for the work that they do. And that's very different from the circumstance that was here before us, where we entered into a contract for services. And in my understanding of the ways in which those services were provided in line with what was asked for by our district and the way that our students and our community experienced the presence of police officers in our campuses for those 2 weeks, that was not in line with the kinds of services nor the kind of respect that we ask people who come into our campuses to show to our students, an understanding of the really complex issues in our community that require some care, some thoughtfulness, and ultimately respect for a recognition that while some students may feel completely comfortable with the presence of police officers on campus, it has been very clear, and we have data to show that that is not the case for all students. And in fact, the services that we were provided during those 2 last weeks of the year reflected a real disrespect for that recognition of students on our campuses, for families of those students. And it was for that reason that I wanted to pull the warrant and have an opportunity to discuss what does it look like to really challenge the service that we receive when it is not in line with the kinds of with the agreements that we make with our partners in school safety. I understand that that upset the apple cart, certainly of operations, and I apologize for any additional churn that has caused staff in furtherance of their duties and smooth workings of our businesses in our district. So just wanted to provide some of that background and thank staff and apologize for any additional work that caused you and headaches. And certainly to also apologize for any lack of clarity that our community understood, or that Anna, you may have understood by my actions in pulling that warrant and asking for some additional time to kind of consider what would we do in a circumstance when the service that we were provided, in fact, caused harm in our community, to our students and to our families. So it was for that reason that I wanted to pull the warrant and have that conversation. And unfortunately, given the timing of the meeting, that was not something that we could do at the time. So with that, I want to report that I'm really excited about the ways in which this conversation has continued between our 2 jurisdictions. I'm really grateful to the community members who have given valuable time in serving on the Community Advisory Committee to ultimately bring recommendations to the 3x3, the group of school board members and city council members, to really make sure that we have good, solid information that comes from, really deep and honest and good conversations from our community members who are skilled and have a lot of good life and professional experiences to bring us recommendations that recognize the complexity of what it is that we're trying to do here. And I want to say, the dollars that have been utilized in the past to fund the SRO program are tax dollars. And that is the decision of another jurisdiction to reallocate those monies that ultimately were in support of safety in our schools. And I really look forward to continuing that conversation in a positive way, recognizing that many of our jurisdictions find themselves between a rock and a hard place with the resources available to us to ensure safety. And to be in a place where we recognize that now that we know better as communities, as leaders in communities, about the risks to all of our community members' safety in the face of the things that we unfortunately continue to see on the news every day in our country about the disproportionate impacts of police violence against students of color, students with disabilities, students who are neurodivergent. We have to do better. And I'm really looking forward to continue that conversation to make sure that we find critical ways to enter into an agreement that holds complexity in the ways that people experience police on campuses, and also that finds really creative solutions for continuing to work together to support safety in schools. So with that, I'd like to move to approve the vendor warrants, because I am confident that we continue to engage in quality, respectful, and ultimately productive conversations with our partners at the City Council. And I thank you for your grace, Anna, and staff in making sure that we had a little bit more time to really work through some of these challenging situations that we find ourselves in. But with that, I move.
Second.
There's a motion by trustee De La Cruz, second by trustee De La Torre. Any further discussion? I just wanted to add that I echo pretty much everything that you said. And in terms of concerns, I also had a concern around some staff selected as part of the services rendered. And a lot of that I have had conversations with the mayor about this, and she knows that we'll be following up with outlining some of the specific concerns around these services rendered. So with that said, let's go to the vote.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
Trustee Flores.
Aye.
President Medina.
Aye. Now we will move on to H1, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting held on March 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee De La Cruz, seconded by Trustee Sheffield. Any comments, discussion? Let's go to the vote.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Abstain.
Trustee Flores.
Aye.
President Medina.
Aye. Now we will move on to I, board member requests for information. Board, any information requests? Seeing none, we'll move on to J, information items are there listed. J1, future board discussion items, board conduct, code of conducts. 2, 3 is educational acronyms. 4, Williams Settlement Quarterly Report. Hi. And as J5, school site reports for Luther Burbank Elementary and Santa Rosa High School. Superintendent, any last comments? Meeting adjourned. Wow.